Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show here on STV. We're bringing you the best of the action across Great Britain with the emphasis on Scottish football. We'll look at the Premiership, Championship, League One and League Two, as well as the Premier League down south, where Chelsea are leading the champions Leicester by 2-0 at the moment. Diego Costa as ever on the score sheet, Eden Hazard as well, and Antonio Conte, after all that pressure through the week about suggestions his position as manager could be under close scrutiny. 2-0 up against the champions Leicester. It's amazing what a game can do for your fortunes. And with that in mind, I think today, in the company of Alan Ruff, Frank McAvenny and Murdo MacLeod, we will undoubtedly be talking about Scotland's performance against Slovakia. Joey Barton, as ever, since we started this show at the start of the season, his name has never been far away from the Saturday programme. We'll look ahead to all the key fixtures across all four divisions in Scotland and focus on the Premiership. 3-0 now to Chelsea in that game, so another emphatic victory and a heavy one for the champions to face. Victor Moses getting the goal there for the Blues. So they'll get all 3 points there in the early kick-off, and there are other matches in the Premier League in England we will keep you up to date with, as well as looking ahead to Manchester United against Liverpool. So guys, Scotland, it was a hard one to take, Murdo MacLeod.
It was, obviously. The other way about, you were looking for all 3 points at Hampden and going away from home. It was going to be a tough match, but to lose 2 points at home and then go away from home hoping even a draw, Peter. But I just felt we didn't play well enough. You know, when you go away from home, even sometimes you just think, just sit in a wee bit, make it difficult for the opposition. I think we played very open and it was too easy for them, especially in the second half.
Yep, Maka, as far as the Slovakia game is concerned, Ruffy thought might be a draw. I couldn't see us getting anything from the game, but I didn't see 3-0.
I didn't see 3-0, Peter, but to be honest with you, the Saturday game was, for me, was awful. You know, I think he's picked the wrong players, and Gordon's got to take responsibility for it. You know, I think he's played. Chris Martin, he's come out and told the world how he was magnificent, he was different class, and then dropped him on the Tuesday. So he's contradicting himself there, and he didn't play the one guy that's on form as Griffiths, and he didn't play him. Now I think that's just, he should be arrested for that, because the two boys are not scoring goals. Chris Martin, Stephen Fletcher scored 3, but you've got to say this boy scored 40 goals last year. He's on fire, he's enjoying himself. The boy Forrest as well. I cannot see why he didn't play him. When you're on form, that's when you've got to play him. I think Gordon's been too loyal to too many people, Peter, and I think it's a downfall at the moment.
Yeah, Matt, that's why I love you on the programme, Maka. He should have been arrested for not playing the league. It was absolutely fantastic. I can see the news headline now. Strachan led away in handcuffs as Lee Griffiths, the clamour for him to start. It's a good point that Maka makes, though, because it's a rod for his own back now.
Yeah, you could sit and analyse a lot of things during that game. You know, the first one is already read that the Germans aren't too happy about the boy Burke obviously starting the first game and not even included anywhere, and not even on the bench, and they'd want to know why, and the explanation that Gordon gave was he wanted to play experienced players.
What a nonsense.
And then wee boy Tierney's playing, so you know, you could pick bones in a lot of his decisions, even the substitution. You know, he takes a striker off and puts McGinn on. He's the one that sees the game there and makes these decisions, but some of them just don't look right.
OK, as ever with a Scotland defeat and staring yet another major finals passing us by. It's not over yet, by the way, although some people would have you believe that it is. We'll discuss it in greater detail. Some of the managers have been, they've leapt to the defence of the Scotland boss, as you would expect. We'll dissect some of the comments coming out of some of the Premier League managers, and then we'll get your assessment as well at Peter and Ruffy, and facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. We'll be reading out some of your tweets and your messages. More football after the break. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. The fallout from Scotland's defeat to Slovakia continues. We'll also look back on last night's win for Rangers with Kenny Miller scoring the deciding goal, his 100th goal in the Premier League, and we will look back on that as well. But as far as the Scotland game is concerned, now all eyes on England. Our form hasn't improved, but Gordon Strachan, the Scotland manager, says form can change.
Your form can change. You know, it's a long period. It's over a year. It's amazing how form can change over 2 weeks. If you're not in an actual football team, it's amazing why you can go from not doing so well at the things you're talking about, but doing very well a couple of weeks later. Form can change. Players can come through. Things can happen for you. There's absolutely no doubt about that.
Well, Gordon Strachan suggests that form can change. I think the only way it can change, Ruffy, is if he changes the side now. We're not getting anywhere with some of the tried and trusted experience. I think we've got to look at fresh blood here and see where we go with that, because this could slip away from us.
Well, it will slip away. If it's a defeat down in England, it will, you know, and as we all know, there'll be a fallout for that, and we've already discussed what Gordon might or might not do. It's okay you saying, yeah, it needs to be freshened up. As far as the goalkeeper and the back four are concerned, I can't see that being freshened up. You know, unless you take the boy Hanley out the equation and possibly play Greer.
Mulgrew?
Yeah, well, has he going to have enough games under his belt, you know, to throw him in there, you know, at that level against, we've already saw, although England are struggling a wee bit, they certainly have pace, and it seems to be the pace in that latter third of the park that they cause a lot of damage. It's an option, you know, if he comes through, the game's quite clear. But it's the midfield for me where I thought that was our strongest bit in the campaign last year. I thought we looked really, really strong in there. And I have to say, we're taking Scott Brown out of the equation. That midfield has fell to bits.
Yeah.
You know, they just seem to be all over the place.
In a strange sort of way, Murdo, you know, they had Maloney in there.
Yep.
They had Snodgrass. Well, Snodgrass wasn't there for a long period of the time, but when he was in there, and you had Naismith's work rate as well, suddenly that five in the middle, you know, had a good energy about it, as well as Naismith's ability to suddenly link up and make it a two.
And he can score goals as well from the middle of the park. But again, no, Alan's talking about maybe the odd change. It's still not enough. I know we're looking about for players that's going to come in, it's going to make a change, a big difference. I don't think there's an awful lot of players that's not playing. It's going to make a massive amount of change. Obviously, Griffiths up front, I think he's the one that you would put a circle around and say, he's got to play.
With another person, two strikers.
Even on his own.
Do you think so, Murdo?
Honestly, it'd be great if you can go. We can't go to Wembley and play two up. We've got to make sure we're against a really good side, a strong side, a quick side, and we've got to make sure we don't give up any chances to England. We've got to keep ourselves in the game down at Wembley. But when you've got Griffiths up front, any half chance, he's never far away. But we're talking about changing. There's not many. Even if you look at all the subs from the other night, you can think most of them could have played, but you're just going to get the same outcome. Yeah. And so it's going to be very difficult for us, Peter, to bring in players that's going to make a massive change at the back four or even in the middle of the park. We've lost these players. Scott Brown, I think, is a massive loss. He was always the leader over the last few years, and now Scott Brown's not there anymore. So you've just got to look at Darren Fletcher's back in now as well, and you've got Bannon in there and MacArthur in there. These type of players, they're good football players, but it's just not happening for the team. So we've got to look and say, why, as a team, are we not performing?
Yeah, I think we've got to look at other areas that make us a different style of team now, Macca, and that's why I think, you know, guys like Oliver Burke should be unleashed on that side.
I think so. I think he should be in there. And, you know, it's all right saying Bannon and Richie and all that. They are good players, Peter, but it's all right when we've got the ball, but sometimes, you know, when you're playing against them, they're going to be right at you. I mean, they are good players. You know, we're all saying, everyone's saying Scotland will step up against England, but so will England. England will step up. And I just don't see this team getting anything at Wembley, Peter, because Bannon he'll get run over the top of. And let's be honest, the other night there when they were all, Dan Fletcher, what a wonderful player he's been. But the other night there, I don't think he was fit, last minute fitness test. And when they pushed up the park, and it's all right when he's nobody near him, Dan Fletcher, he can get the ball and he can spray passes. But when they're pushing right in your face and you've not got the time, I think he get caught out a little bit with his fitness. and maybe his age, I don't know, his legs are not the same as what they used to be, Peter. So when they were pushing in, he's got to have players round about him, and I didn't think Snodgrass helped him any, because whether he was told to stay out wide, I don't know, but Snodgrass is a better player than that. He's wasted out there, you know. So that's why I said the other night they should have had Forrest out there, Snodgrass in, you know, and left Bannon for me, left him on the bench to come on when we've got the ball more.
But the big thing, just what you're saying, you can change the squad round about, but you're not bringing in another player, Peter. It's not part of the squad just now.
Yeah.
So we've just got to do with what we've got, and I think we've got to look at all the other home international sides in the Euros when Wales was doing well, two of the islands doing well, England. You've got Iceland, countries like that, and they're all performing, Peter. They're all battling away. Have we lost that wee bit of fight about us? That we're turning up to, we've got nice players, we can all play, all similar level, and they're not performing. We should maybe be trying to work that wee bit harder. And I'm not saying it's difficult. You look at a football player playing for the national country, for his national team, and he's out there and he thinks he's doing really well. But we've got to find some wee bit extra, something special in a football park.
And I think
we're going to lift it.
I think something else, as a football player, Peter, you know, see if Griffiths is playing, you know that if you give him a chance, he'll score. If I was a midfield player, I wouldn't be happy with the boy Martin, because he's not scored in 20 odd games, and that does go into your play. You're thinking, will I get it in, or will I bring it out and pass it? It gets into your head, so, you know,
even Griffiths, when he came on the other night, he just there's a ball through the back, one and one, bang, he just dragged it by the far away corner.
It sort of changed the game.
But that gives the rest of the players a wee lift as well.
Yeah.
You know, when they know they've got an out ball at the top end of the football pitch, and someone's going to have a goal on goal. And I think Griffiths is the man who's got to play there. And if he can give us a lift at Wembley, then hopefully the rest of the team can do well.
Yeah, I take your point with lots of people commenting on whether we should be playing Griffiths, whether we should be playing two strikers up front. Here's the latest findings of our poll on Twitter with regards to should Scotland be playing two strikers up front in the game at Wembley. 76% so far saying yes on that. We'll run that throughout the afternoon as well. Of course, no surprise when Mark McGee puts himself in front of the cameras for today's game. He's representing Motherwell as the manager, and he's undoubtedly going to be asked questions yesterday about the situation with Gordon Strachan and Scotland. Here's his take on it and a few others.
I'm not going to comment on that. You know, that's for Gordon, not for me. You know, Gordon has his own thoughts. My only thought I'll give you is that there is still a great chance of qualification. You know, obviously the results have to improve, but I think there's a potential there for that to happen. So, you know, I think it's all still to play for.
I feel as if the country's too negative at times like this. I genuinely believe that when you look at the group, yes, the two games were disappointing in the results, but you could have lost the two games and no ended up out the group. I don't think we're not out the group at all.
It really saddens me and angers me that this sort of clamour from certain people and media that Gordon should lose his job. Gordon was the right man for the job, and he's still the right man. And I do feel that we really need to get behind him rather than because they boys feed off of positivity. They players, we've got to make sure the manager feels we're right behind him as well.
I think he's perfectly suited to being the manager of Scotland. You know, wonderful experience as a manager. You know, he showed in many clubs, and in this club here, they can get the best out of players. There's maybe deeper issues and problems within Scottish football, and but like I say, I haven't been here long enough to see what they might be. But obviously, of course, when you're the manager, you're always under the spotlight. But I think he's a good guy when I've spoke to him, and he's certainly got a lot of knowledge of football, both domestic and international football.
Well, everybody and their granny's offered opinion on it. Just picking up on Derek McInnes' comment there, I've got no problem with any pundit suggesting that Gordon Strachan should lose his job. I happen to think he should still be in the job. I think we're 3 games into a contract that he was offered, and the remit in the contract is get us to the World Cup. There are 3 games gone. He's only lost 1. The second game that he played may well have been a disappointment, and you can roll out the statistics on Gibraltar and Malta as our only victories, Murdo. but nothing is decided. 3 games into it, are we now sacking managers?
Well, I think we've just got to look at it. Obviously, the next game at Wembley is going to be a really tough one for us. We've just got to hang in there just now. And it is a wee bit negative round about the whole thing, because it came from nowhere about, Gordon's thinking about it and all this. And the good thing was he came back very quickly after that to say, no, I'm going to stay on as manager. And then you hear till after the game at Wembley, and I'm thinking, that's no great either. I think that's negative, because the players must be thinking, we might be getting a new manager and a game, 1 game away, and then Gordon will be leaving. I think Gordon should be saying, no, we're going to get there. See, until we can't qualify, I'll still be the Scotland manager.
The biggest problem with Gordon is he won't change, Peter. You know that. He's stuck in his ways, and he's not going to change. And that's my biggest gripe, pardon me, with him. It's not, should he be the manager? Yeah, there's no doubt he's a good manager, but he's stuck in his ways. He picks a certain type of players. He won't pick McCormick, who's scoring goals. He won't pick Rhodes, who's scoring goals. The only other striker you've got that's in the Scotland squad, a proper goal scorer, is Griffiths, and he won't play him. Now, you've got to say, we ain't going to get... Peter, let's be honest, we should be sitting here with 9 points. You know, people were saying 6 points. They 3 teams were there for the taking. They're not good teams by any stretch of the imagination. And if it says we'll get 6 points out of the 3 games, we'd have took it. You know, but 4, it's not...
I think the key issue here is, listen, we'd all love 9 points from 3 games. I don't necessarily think that we should have had 9 points. I think certainly 7 would have been something that I was hoping for. 6, I think, would have been acceptable to everyone as well. The problem here is we want to dismantle our game every time we think it's gone horribly wrong, and we question everything about the foundations, Ruffy. You know, Think Tank 1 was, let's view Holland as the light, the way and the truth with Rinus Michels. Nothing happened. Think Tank 2 was, let's look at the French and Gerard Houllier, and we should be embracing that. Think Tank 3, would you believe, I heard somebody saying, let's reboot the entire system and do what the Germans did. I mean, we're not as bad a team as we think we are. I think somewhere along the line, we should be performing better than we are at the moment, Ruffy. And I think there are 3 or 4 players that I think now Gordon has left himself wide open to criticism. Ross McCormack, I'm not saying is a saviour, scores goals. Also, you know, things like you mentioned, like leaving out Oliver Burke. Lee Griffiths is another one. And there are just certain players that I think he's now leaving himself wide open to what I call an easy punch from anybody who's a critic of him.
Well, he's left himself open with some of his media, you know, with the media, you know, and I've always heard people saying you're at that position in football is whether you like them or you don't like them, you keep them on your side. You know, you keep them on their side, particularly when things aren't going particularly well. But to noise them up in the light of a poor result against Lithuania, you know, just set the ball rolling. And we're all disappointed because we haven't been to World Cup finals for a long, long time. So any poor result is going to be feasted upon. And I have to say, I
don't think Gordon cares about that. Honestly, I genuinely don't. He knows results will either make him or break him. Who cares if you fall out with the media? I mean, are we also touchy about it?
Yeah, but it's not just been touchy about it, Peter. It's been keeping everybody on the right side. We're going to be getting into the England game, right? And leading up to this England game, in the week of the game, I bet there's not many media who are on the end of falling out with him are going to be positive in leading up to that game. It's all going to be negative. Who we're going to get thumped here, we're going to get this. The players don't need it, and the manager, as you say, might be able to deal with it. But you don't want it. You don't. You should be getting into the game with high hopes and positive. We're looking forward to this player playing. We're looking forward to this.
It all goes back to the results. 100%. It's all about results. If we had won at home and went away from home and lost 3-0. We'd have kind of shrugged our shoulders a wee bit. Well, we'll get them back at Hampden, and it's that's the reverse now. We're still in the tournament now. We're dropping points at Hampden. That's not good enough against a side that we should be beating at Hampden Park. But the players themselves, Gordon's the one that's carrying the can just now, and he's kind of protecting the players. The players themselves have got to stand up and say, no, we've let the managers down. We've got to go. In fact, we've let all the fans down. They're turning up in droves at Hampden Park to see them. They're getting behind the side. Then all of a sudden you're drawn at home to a poor side. Then you're going away and then you get battered 3-0 away from home. And then your next game's at Wembley. And No, everything goes flat then, Peter.
Yeah.
But you've still got the same players. I think the players, they're the ones that's got to do a wee bit more.
I think some of the players might not be good enough, Murdo.
Well, we know some of them are not good enough.
You look right across,
so you're up against it right away, and don't get me wrong, players in the team know that as well.
Yeah, but I think it's a cop out.
That's down to the manager.
I think it's a cop out now, Macca.
That's down to the manager.
Turn around and saying the players are not good enough, because when they hear that long enough, they think, well, maybe my level's here and people shouldn't get on our case. The players are good enough if they actually apply themselves properly, and I think a number of players are not applying themselves properly in whether it's the system, and one or two that need to be changed. But it's a cop out to say we're just not good enough.
Can I give you an example? The boy Martin on Saturday, every time you seen him, two defenders were there, and he was fighting with the two of them. Fighting with the two of them, so it's easy for the defence. Griffiths come on, and all of a sudden they had to split because they didn't know where he was going.
Yes.
It's just a simple little thing. You've got to move the defence. You've got to open them up. You've got to split the centre halves. But it's the boy Martin and Fletcher, they want to fight, they want to hold on to them. And that's their game, Peter.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. But I just think in international football, you've got to move. You've got to move.
But why is it with us, Macca, we're the only one? Do you think they're down in Wales? Are they talking about their national team? Or there's a lot of players on the side that's not good enough? Northern Ireland, Republic, England, are they all sitting, going over their team just now and thinking, these guys aren't good enough?
No. Because
why are we the only country talking about this?
Yeah, because we're looking for too many excuses. The players have to step up to the plate and take it. And I accept your point, Macca, because I think for anyone who's a younger viewer, nobody respects more than me the fact that you had that ability to shift defenders about everywhere and move them. So take that on board. I don't want the whole programme to become a complete downer for us, because we've got to look optimistic on certain aspects of our game. One guy I'm going to mention now that I think we should concentrate on just before we look towards the games today is Kenny Miller, his 100th goal for Rangers, Roffey, in a 1-0 victory, and a good 1-0 victory up at Inverness for Mark Warburton's side. But boy, what a goal from Miller.
Yeah, not just the goal, but the actual build-up to the goal. It was well worked and up the park, and a quality ball into the box and an even better quality finish. And I think Rangers had chances to win that game, but Wood had, so did Inverness. That same frailty of a ball put into the middle of the box and free headers. I think Inverness had 2 or 3 of them. But no, all credit to Rangers, they got the result. It is a hard place to go to up there, but I think you'll still be worried about their centre-half position as well.
Yeah, OK. Another little story that reared its ugly head today, and I don't like in any capacity talking about one media company to the other. Joey Barton. I think everybody's known for the last 2 or 3 weeks that he wasn't going to be back at Rangers.
I was on here 3 weeks ago and you said he'd be away.
Well, exactly. I think it must have been a quiet day for somebody to claim that as an exclusive, to be perfectly honest with you. But nevertheless, he's not going to be back there. And I think now, as we've stated on several occasions, Rangers are looking at the whole disciplinary procedure to see if there's any area where their case is rock solid. Joey Barton has to sit in the wings. The manager doesn't want him back. The board have to work out a way to get him out of that contract without paying a hefty amount of money, which I don't think they've got to give to him. Not that Rangers don't have money. Rangers don't have that type of money to give to him. Yeah,
because obviously if he's going to get out the door, you'll be looking for maybe £1.5 million or something like that. Rangers can't afford to pay that off just for a player, so he'd maybe just have to sit in his house for the next 2 years.
Yeah, or Loch Lomond. Playing golf.
The thing is, it can't be that bad because they've sacked him if they can get away with it. So obviously there's lawyers looking at it. It's a disagreement and the manager doesn't want him around the place. It's as simple as that, and they can't sack him for that, Peter.
Yeah. Well, listen, that's what the delay is here. Yeah. And what makes it even worse, Roffey, is now the SFA will look at the betting notice of complaint on November 17th, which moves it even further back. So that's a blow to them.
Is that a sacking offence?
No, I don't think it is. But by the way, believe me, that will be in the mix to try and see if that is. One thing you don't know, Murdo, is you don't know whether there's been a verbal, whether there's been an initial warning, whether there's been a final warning, and then the one that That's where I think Rangers are taking their time on this.
Well, that was initially. Sorry, Alan. That was the initial 3-week period. Usually the lawyers take that
because they didn't
just to make sure that they're doing everything.
They didn't sack Black.
But I don't think, I don't think that comes into the equation just now. That the betting thing.
No,
that's a smallish matter compared to what, because he can maybe be fined for that or banned for a game or whatever happens there, but he can't get sacked for that.
I wonder what the week is going to bring, though, because eventually what you've got is a situation where slowly but surely, unless action is taken, Joey Barton's case as a player is strengthened, Ruffy, because he's sitting saying, you can't keep suspending me away from the club. I'm available to play. I'm either coming in to do my job, or you have to give me a legitimate reason for not honouring that. You know, they can honour the contract and pay him, but it's painful.
Yeah, I'm surprised the actual players' union hasn't stepped in here. I'm surprised he hasn't went to the players' union as most. No, but you've got to, if you're not getting anywhere and nothing's happening, you know. The thing is he getting paid? Of
course he is.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Definitely, Ruffy. I think what we're doing at the moment is...
the longer this drags on, then I think Rangers will be really happy to come.
But Alan, it's not a players' union thing, I don't think, because it's lawyers that's involved. It's his lawyers against Rangers' lawyers, and his lawyers are trying to make sure if he's going out the door, he's going to walk away with a handful of money.
I think
and if he's going to stay at the football club, then there'll be one or two people not happy about it. But you just got to move on. But this can't drag on.
No.
This can't do week in, week out. And we're talking about Joey Barton and not about Kenny Miller and scoring his 100th goal. We should be talking about everything that's happening in the pitch, but it's not. It's off the pitch.
I think what we're doing at the moment is going through due process. OK, we're going to talk about quite a few games in the Premiership. Let's go to one where we've got a reporter out at what should be an interesting game for Jack Ross. It's his first game in charge of St Mirren after their win last week. The players will be on a high. He's just got to try and get a little bit of momentum going for St Mirren against Dundee United. Andrew McLean is out there at New St Mirren Park.
Welcome to St Mirren Park, where today it's St Mirren versus Dundee United. Jack Ross takes charge of the home side for the first time today, and he'll be hoping to lead them to their first league victory of the season. Confidence should be high in the squad after last week's victory against Hibs in the Iron Brew Cup. However, Dundee United have only lost once in 10 visits to this stadium, and a win for them today could see them rise as high as third in the table. Here at St Mirren Park, it's St Mirren versus Dundee United.
Yep, that should be a good one, and I think Jack Ross certainly now, and here's the situation with a new manager. He comes with a good pedigree in a short space of time, Murdo, but suddenly many a manager has had a good first start at a club, and then when the expectation rises, taking that step up.
Well, that's the thing. He's got good experience because he's been an assistant manager for a couple of clubs as well, Peter. And he's a lot of the players had said he's been very good as a coach and helpful as a coach for the players himself. But now he's been on his own, great results at Alloa, and now going to St Mirren. And was, when you're looking at St Mirren, what a lift they got from going to beat Hibs last week. So now he's going into this side, a massive game against Dundee United. But this is a game that St Mirren would be thinking, or the St Mirren fans will be thinking, they'd be looking to Dundee United and Hibs as the two big challenges for them to go up. But now they've been at the bottom end of the table. Now it's a chance now for Jack to come in and lift St Mirren up the table. OK, let's look at the Premiership. Big games today, and of course one of them at Celtic Park, Celtic against Motherwell. I'm going to read the team out to you for this game today. Gordon, Gamboa, Shimonovic, Ziachenko and Tierney, Henderson, Brown, Forrest, Armstrong, Sinclair and Dembele. Give me your reaction to that, Ruffy, because there are a few names in there that haven't appeared.
Well, he obviously thinks it's a strong enough team with the European game coming up in midweek. Obviously Toure, you would want to rest him. He's obviously given the boy Henderson a game, which we all know what he's got in him, you know, and it's good. I think it's a good thing about it is the guys that they are giving games to is at home. You know, I think it's always difficult when you get an away game, but certainly get into that game. They've had good results against Motherwell recently. Okay, they lost 2-1 last year, but you would think it all depends on how Martin McGee goes there today and how he fancies this game. I think if he goes and tries and wins it, he knows what's going to happen. He's going to lose goals. But I think it's all about Celtic, what they do today. We saw them going a goal behind against Kilmarnock, but they were good enough to come back on that one. The main thing for me is Griffiths not starting. You know, if this was continue, you know, we're talking.
Who's the three? The one off the front, Sinclair on the left and Armstrong on the right.
Yep. And you've got Forrest, Brown and Henderson.
Forrest. So Armstrong's
in there, and
Forrest and Sinclair wide.
Dembele's up front.
See again, Alan, you know, you're talking about Griffiths, and we've all been talking about Griffiths, how great it would be for Scotland. He's not getting a game for Celtic just now, because Dembele, he's been outstanding. So you're looking at it, but again, Celtic, the manager sat down for the last week or so and thinking about this side because the game.
There's 3
midweek.
games coming up, and there's 3 games.
They're massive.
It's massive.
So he's got to start just pulling in 1 or 2 of the fringe players. Henderson coming in there will not let this side down.
If he's confident enough, then he would start Griffiths and give Dembele a rest.
You
know, you're not in an ideal game. He will probably come on at some stage.
One thing I'll say is, when you're on fire as a striker, you don't want rested.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you,
I would not want rested. I would say, no, I'm playing.
But you wouldn't want injured either.
You're there to play football, Ruffy.
I just think leaving him out wouldn't have been a bad thing.
Fine coming for a goalkeeper. Coming for a goalkeeper.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to come out for a cross, you might get hurt.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and therein lies the mindset of Alan Roth. That Motherwell side, Samson in goal, Richard Tate, Ben Hennigan, Steve McManus, Louis Moult, Chris Cadden, Keith Lasley, Craig Clay, Ross McLean, Jack McMillan and Scott McDonald. This is a Motherwell side. The last 2 occasions at Celtic Park, they've lost 12 goals in 2 games, and they face a striker who scored 12 goals for Celtic in Moussa Dembele. We'll talk about him after the break. He's also managed to get a couple of goals for the under-21s as well. He's on fire, the player of the month for September. So we'll look at the Motherwell team as well, dissect Mark McGee's selection for this game, and then we'll look at the other runners and riders at the top end and the bottom end of the table. There's a good game on at Hearts, another sellout at Tynecastle Stadium, and then we'll also delve into the Championship, because of course Hibernian, the players should be on a high because Neil Lennon took them out for a meal, and I think he might have paid for it as well, which is all the more amazing, I'm told. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. Sometimes I would love to let you hear what happens in the break. Sometimes there are just lines that deserve to be aired. We're here at the moment looking ahead to the big kick-off across the country in the Premiership, Championship, League 1 and League 2. One match has already taken place in the Premier League in England. Leicester losing 3-0 at Stamford Bridge to Chelsea. So a big blow there for the former Chelsea boss Claudio Ranieri. Certainly a settling result for Antonio Conte. People just putting him under a fair bit of pressure with only one win in the last 5 games, but that win today will certainly settle them down. I'm sure they'll be there or thereabouts. You can give us your view on that as well as the other matches taking place. We were talking just prior to the break about the Celtic selection. Liam Henderson in the starting lineup, Lee Griffiths on the bench. Moussa Dembele is the man of the moment. Of course, when you get a striker scoring goals, as Maka will tell you, suddenly if you're scoring them in Scotland, everybody's trying to get you a move out of Scotland. But Moussa Dembele says he's happy with Celtic.
For me, this was the next level after Fulham. I had to come in a massive club and show that I can do it in the high level, and that's what I've done. I've done here, and I feel that after Fulham, this is the next step, and I'm doing well, so I'm happy. And
always get a little bit cynical sometimes when you see in the headlines in the papers in the morning that he said, he'd be happy here for a couple of years. Money always talks, and it starts to play games with chief executives as well as the individuals with their agents. But right now, I think he's getting Champions League football, Murdo. He's scoring goals. No, everything's rosy in the garden.
Well, obviously, when you're a striker and you're scoring goals and you're scoring the goals at the highest level, it's fantastic. His hat-trick in the Old Firm game was just fantastic, and when he's enjoying his football just now, and I think just now he will be looking at it and thinking, I want to stay here for a while. But as soon as the money comes in, Peter, that's when his mind gets changed, because I don't know what kind of money he's on at Celtic. He'll be on a reasonable wage, but the clubs down south, if they want him, they'll be paying him fortunes. Yeah,
you can roll more than a few names off the tongue. Bayern Munich, apparently, Paris Saint-Germain, all having a look, but Brendan Rodgers is happy to have a goal-scoring striker at the club.
I think we were very fortunate to get a top young player. As you say, a French under-21 international who scores goals at that level, and when you can perform like he has down in England at such a young age, of course, we always anticipate that. But he's really happy here. He's obviously only in the door, and he, along with his representatives, were very keen for them to come to here and develop. And I think he's loving his life here in Glasgow and playing for Celtic. And like as I said, he knows that he's still on that pathway for learning and developing, and he's at the best club at this moment in time to do that.
So Dembele starts for Celtic against Motherwell. Just one little footnote to finish here. Ruffy, John Park leaving the club. They're now looking for a new recruitment officer. He's had a long stint with more than a few players that I think he'll be able to claim as a success.
Yeah, I think he has had good ones and he also has bad ones, but I think the good ones have been good. A lot of money. You're talking about Wanyama, 12 million quid. He's
had a lot of good ones, Peter. Dembele, he was inspirational getting him as well, so that's his last one.
Yep. Okay, we wish him well, and I think Celtic will start the search now for a new recruitment officer.
Is there news, Peter, about where he's going?
No, nothing. I think he just wanted a fresh start somewhere else. So who knows? Okay, from Celtic against Motherwell, we're going to look at some of the other games. We'll quickly switch to the Championship now to get the team news from St Mirren against Dundee United. Here's Andrew McLean.
Jack Ross makes one change today for St Mirren's Scottish Premiership match against Dundee United. Rangers loanee Tom Walsh drops out, and another Rangers loanee, Ryan Hardy, comes in for him. There's 5 changes for Dundee United, with the likes of Cammy Bell, Obadei and Nick van der Velden coming in. Here at St Mirren Park, it's St Mirren versus Dundee United.
Okay, that could be a really interesting game, and of course St Mirren's desire is just to get away from the bottom end. Dundee United aspirations to be in there in the mix at the top end of the game, and I'm talking of course in the running there with them is a team that I think will do well. Ruffy, is Falkirk, and they're playing Dunfermline today. What a cracker that is.
Yeah, that's a big one. I think Falkirk have got Dunfermline at the right time. Dunfermline haven't been scoring goals the way they were and winning games, but Falkirk seem to be getting more and more confidence under their belt.
Yep, absolutely. And we had Falkirk's midfielder John Rankin in the studio as one of our bookroom guests in midweek, and he had some interesting thoughts on the game ahead.
Big game against Dunfermline at the weekend. I think as we speak, I think there's only 70 tickets left, so the fans have done really well to get the tickets snapped up. But as you say, I mean, Hibs have had a sticky patch the last, I think, 3-4 games, and now we need to capitalise on that. A wee bit disappointing result against St Mirren a couple of weeks ago when we let a 1-goal lead slip late on, and we were hanging on for a point at that point. So it was disappointing having been in the lead for so long in the game. But I mean, we've got high hopes for this season. But everyone else in the league is. It's a very difficult league, and we see some good teams. I mean, everyone always asks about the part-time teams with Dumbarton and Ayr. I've been really impressed with Dumbarton and Ayr. I really have. They've got good players there, players with high experience in a higher division. And it makes it for a right tough league. Hopefully we can pick up enough points to go and challenge and be there at the end of the season.
Yeah, there's John Rankin talking it up. Only 70 tickets left. I imagine they'll be snapped up today. When you look at some of the games that are on today, Celtic Motherwell should be a big crowd there. Hearts Dundee is a sellout again, Ruffy. And of course Aberdeen against Ross County. The Dons fans are out in great numbers. Championship, Falkirk, Hibs, Wraith Rovers, all attracting crowds. Maybe our game's not as bad as we think.
No, it isn't. You know, and I think every one of these teams that you mentioned have got something to go for, and that's why it makes it so exciting for the spectators.
Yep, join us after the break. We'll look at all the fixtures for Saturday afternoon, and we'll get the predictions from all three of our pundits. Join us after the break on the Saturday Football Show. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. Delighted for your company on a Saturday afternoon. If you can't get out to a football game, then stick with us over the 4 hours from 2 till 6 every Saturday when there's domestic football on. We are there for you, bringing you all the goals as they hit the back of the net, interviews, and of course no shortage of opinion with the three guys I have on my left hand side here. Alan Ruff, Frank McAvenny and Murdo MacLeod. A strong midfield, a really good striker and a tip-top goalkeeper as well, Rocky.
Yeah.
Is that good enough for you? As per the terms of your contract, a tip-top goalkeeper. Tip-top.
Coming in.
Absolutely. It's absolutely magnificent. And of course, I hate to say it, but I have to say, you know, if you want to see how good these guys were, you need to go on YouTube now to see some of the great games that they played in. Okay, let's look at the fixtures for the Premiership in Scotland today, because I mentioned the fact that a lot of fans will be going out to these games, and you can understand why. Aberdeen against Ross County. Looking forward to this one. Of course, two friends coming up against each other. Jim McIntyre and Derek McInnes, great friends. But Ross County will be hoping they can replicate the 4-0 win in the corresponding fixture last season at Pittodrie, no less. Aberdeen against Ross County. Celtic against Motherwell. Hearts against Dundee. Another sellout at Tynecastle. Simply amazing. Dundee with only one win in the league, and that was in the opening day of the season. Partick Thistle against Hamilton. That's at the bottom end of the table, with the implications there for Alan Archibald's side. And St Johnstone against Kilmarnock. That's how it looks in the Premiership. Let's have a look at the table to see how it stands before we get to kick off on that. Celtic out in front, Aberdeen, and then Rangers in there in second. Well, joint second, but goal difference favours Aberdeen on this one. Just sitting tucked in 4 points behind Celtic. Certainly a healthier position for Mark Warburton's side. Hearts would go above them today with a win. And at the bottom end, Ruffy's old side, Partick Thistle there with Kilmarnock, Dundee and Hamilton. Aki's just a point above. Let me give you the Hearts side for today. Hamilton, Patterson, Ozturk, Suter, Rossi, Doom, Kitchen, Cowie, Walker, Watt and Salmon. The big blow, Ruffy, is Sam Nicholson's out for 3 months.
Yeah, it is. I think he's one of the young players that excites that team. You know, whether he's playing or coming on, he's definitely one for the future. And I think any footballer being out of the game for that length of time, it's a hard one to take, particularly when his team are doing so well.
Yep, a real blow for them, but again, it just shows you, you know, everything looking good there. The museum's open. They've also got the plans in for the new stand to get finished in 2017, Murdo, and the team's playing well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. If the ground can be ready in a year's time, you know, the fans will be turning up. I think it's at 20,000 capacity, and then it will just be filled every single week. It's at the games at Tynecastle, and I just think they'll get stronger and stronger over the next few years.
Yep, okay, that's the Premiership. What about the Championship today? Here are the fixtures. Dumbarton against Ayr, Falkirk Dunfermline, Queen of the South against Morton, Wraith Rovers take on Hibernian, St Mirren against Dundee United. And as you look at the Championship, you're looking at Hibernian. Hasn't been great form of late. Neil Lennon decided it's time to take all the players out for a meal, a little bit of a bonding session. That type of thing can work wonders.
Yeah, it can, because obviously there's a lot of new players at the club. Sometimes it takes new players a while to settle in, and that's the kind of night out that you could have, you know, that you can put a few practical jokes.
Look at the faces lighting up with those two, Murdo.
Oh, I know. I mean, that's the kind of thing. There's a lot of wind-ups go on, and sometimes you need to be in the end of a wind-up to bring you into the group of players that you don't really know much about. So I'm sure
opens up the terms as well, and some, you're not being critical, but you say things and it gets took the right way when you've had a couple of drinks, and I think it all works. The benefit of the club. The
big blow for us is Neil had invited us through for a bit of lunch, Ruffy, and I think that budget may well have been used up by taking the team out. So that's a real blow. But Hibernian need to get back to winning ways, because I think Falkirk, you know, for me, it could be the one team that looks more than capable of upsetting the apple cart this season.
Yeah, I think Hibs, if they can go and have a good run, Peter, and get themselves away at the top and have that wee bit of leeway in between them and the rest, because you know, you've got the sides up there. Wraith Rovers have been up, Queen of the South has been up there, Falkirk will be there, Dundee United might come with a run, so there's possibilities of other sides going to put Hibs under a wee bit of pressure, so they've got to go on good runs to give themselves that wee bit of leeway that they can afford the odd defeat, because even last week losing in the cup, you know, Neil will be looking to win that trophy, and then all of a sudden he's out of the tournament, and then he's not even sitting top of the league just now. But they're a strong side, and I think they'll just get better as the season gets on.
The problem for Hibs is the same with every other club. When your top striker's not scoring goals,
Right,
Cummins, you know, he's in the team, he's at the team. He was last year. He was scoring all the winning goals. He was oozing of confidence, and it's not happening.
He was up until a couple of weeks ago, really, wasn't he? He was scoring goals up to a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, it's almost approaching kick-off. Here's League One for you today. We'll keep you up to date with the goals as they hit the back of the net. Brecon against Alloa, Livingston against Albion Rovers, Queen's Park taking on East Fife. It's Stenhousemuir versus Stranraer, and Airdrieonians against Peterhead. That's how it looks in League One. What about League Two this afternoon for you? Arbroath against Forfar, Cowdenbeath and an Athletic, Edinburgh City against Clyde, Montrose against Elgin, and Stirling against Berwick Rangers. Well done to Gary Boland, who wins Manager of the Month for September for Forfar. And I was going to say, actually, thank you to someone who actually mentioned to me in midweek, it's just the Premier League in England. I've been mentioning Barclays and obviously giving them one wahoo of a mention all the way through since the start of the season, but sponsors, they come and they go and they change every now and then, but it's the Premier League in England right now. Here are the fixtures for this afternoon. Chelsea 3, Leicester 0. That's a big victory for Antonio Conte. Arsenal against Swansea, Bournemouth versus Hull, Manchester City taking on Everton. It's a clash of the two pals there who used to play in the dream team of Barcelona from '92. I'm talking about Ronald Koeman and Pep Guardiola. Stoke against Sunderland, West Brom, Tottenham, and Crystal Palace take on West Ham at 5:30. Middlesbrough against Watford, and Southampton against Burnley on the Sunday. And Ruffy and myself discussed this yesterday. Two games there that tell you you can go out for lunch on Sunday all the way through to early evening. And then on Monday night it's Liverpool against Manchester United at 8 o'clock. Am I being unkind, Murdo?
That's shocking, isn't it? They've got great supporters turning up just because there's no the big guns, Pedro, and you're no fancying it.
I'm not staying in.
Right.
Ruffy, do you look at some games and think, no, come on, I'm stretching it? You know, I mean, I used to have, when we were staying in our flat in Edinburgh, I used to have a number of people who instructed both myself and my nephew that we were not allowed to watch certain games because they were of a certain level.
Yes.
And when the people who said that to us, we actually, who, you know, we liked watching football quite a lot, Murdo, we looked at the person who'd said it to us and said, what do you mean? Leighton Orient against Shrewsbury is a massive game with huge implications, and the person who said it to us had to leave the flat, Murdo. That's all I'm saying to you. You've got to be able to watch the games.
You've got to learn from this level as well. You can't always just watch the great games and then you turn up and watch a game and you just think this is poor.
Well, that's good for you coming from Germany. Karl-Heinz Rummenigge says we only want to watch big games now. So why should we bother?
Yeah, but Gordon Smith was in the room when he was talking about that.
Yes, a very good point. I think Gordon's written a paper about it, and we have it. It's just been passed to us by the Smith family. Montrose 0, Elgin 1. First goal of this afternoon for Jim Weir's side there. And McHardy has got the first goal of the afternoon. It gets us off and running. It gives you an indication. Not only on the screen will you get the background to all the goals as they hit the back of the net, but the guys will give us their reaction as well. Lewis, Logan, Taylor, O'Connor, Considine, Shinnie, McLean, Madison, Hayes, McGinn and Rooney. That's the Aberdeen starting lineup, and a number of those players I've mentioned. It is fantastic to come back and chat to some of the players that have been away in international duty. It gives you an incentive yourself to try and play that bit better as well.
Well, that's a great thing when you see these 3 or 4 players that's been in your squad going to different countries, playing for their country and coming back to play up with you at the weekend, and you just feel left out. So it's up to the player themselves now to try and get an international cap.
Yeah, absolutely. Maki, you've spotted something.
Yeah, Ayers went 1-0 up against Dumbarton. I thought that's a tough place to go. down at Dumbarton, but Ayr United went 1 goal up.
Well, you say that, but suddenly, you know, they've got Conrad Ballatoni in the lineup. Gary Harkins is now at Ayr
Is that
United.
not James Forrest's brother that scored?
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
and they're tipping him for big things. He's supposed to be just as good in a different style of player as James Forrest, and over and above that, one of the other players that are tipping for big things at Ayr United we had as our boot room guest only last week, Ruffy. I'm talking, of course, about Nicky Devlin, the right back.
Yeah, a very confident young lad, you know, that has been about a couple of 2 or 3 clubs, but he's a captain, isn't he? And, you know, I'm sure he'll be the mainstay in that Ayr United side. But they are going well now.
What a difference with Jamesy Forrest, Peter. I mean, you didn't want to know when Ronnie was there, and all of a sudden a new manager's come in and he's like the player that he's now back on track, the player that everyone thought he could be. And that's only going to be beneficial to Scotland if he gets a game.
Yeah, absolutely. Only you could twist that there, Macca, incredibly. Okay, so Aberdeen against Ross County is going to be an interesting one. Yeah. Ross County, no wins in the last 5 games, 3 draws, 2 losses, and if Boyce doesn't get the goals or Curran, they struggle, Murdo.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. But it's the same as any team. Is the main strikers are not getting goals, Peter, then they're under pressure. But you're just looking at Aberdeen. I think if you're looking who's going to win, you just get, for me, it's all the way down, it's home wins. 5 home wins in the
5 home wins today?
Yes, yeah.
Who did you select in the choice today? We all had a choice, Ruffy. Who did Murdo go for?
Aberdeen. Murdo went for Aberdeen, I went for Hearts, Macca went for St Mirren, and you've went for Partick Thistle.
Yeah, so you're going for Aberdeen, Murdo. You just
take a chance.
Oh no, not really. if you keep that,
a win's a win, Peter.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I've sat here week in, week out, and I watch you lot with your bookie slip and just think, I seen there's a bin here filled with the amount of slip you put in there.
Listen, 2 years the amount of bets that you couldn't get a Happy Meal, honestly.
yeah. So the good. But it's the joy of it. We always do things responsibly. Yes. I was just thinking there, you know, Murdo tipping Aberdeen. If he keeps this up, the BBC could be back in for him. By the way, if you tip Aberdeen for a win, that's you. You've got a 4-year deal. I mean, it's as simple as that. Bournemouth 1, Hull City 0. Charlie Daniels has scored the goal, Ruffy, which is unusual. I think he's left the band now and he's now playing football for Bournemouth. I bet you can't tell me who sang that song, Murdo.
Charlie Daniels.
Charlie Daniels. You three, you think with all your musical knowledge.
Can you hum a wee bit?
It's got a bit of violin on it, it's a bit country. You know,
Charlie, was it the?
Oh look, he's got the bit between his teeth.
Devil thing?
Yes, Murdo.
Devil down in Georgia.
Georgia, that's it. Well done. There you are. Look at the three of you, proud as punch.
Joined in. Team effort.
If you could sing that now, guys, that would really take the show to another level. Not necessarily up the way, but down the way.
I'll do the doodly doodly bit.
Anyway, there's the goal. Queen of the South 0, Morton 1. Jim Duffy's side again coming up trumps. I think Jim Duffy's just another one of those managers who should have, no disrespect to Morton, but when you look at what he's achieved, he should be the man getting a bigger job again. Ross Forbes scoring that goal, Murdo.
Yeah, great. And to go down at Queen of the South, they're one of the top sides this season, and to go down there and be 1-0 up and they can hold out to get points down there, it's a great achievement.
He's
Duff's been great. He's good experience, and he's came from the old school into the new school with a lot of younger players there, and he's got a few good young players that's maybe got a chance to move on.
Do you know what he's good at, Murdo, which I think is something that a lot of managers do not get the credit for? Man management.
Yeah.
Individuals.
Yeah.
Stoke 1, Sunderland 0. Joe Allen has scored. Everyone connected with the Welsh international side just seems to be firing on all cylinders, and I wonder how difficult this job is becoming for David Moyes. He's just saying they need to try and get some kind of momentum, Ruffy. I don't know where it's coming from.
No, it isn't. And sometimes when you're down there year on, it's very difficult to get yourself out. People just accustomed to them down there, and then at the end of the day they seem to scrape out of the decision where they are. But
I think some of the players that they brought in, I mean, they didn't spend a lot of money, Peter, but some of the players they brought in, they're not players that you brought in for a fight. And I think that's what they need. They
Yeah.
need players that's going to
They
come
need
in there,
battlers.
and they need somebody that's got a backbone and stand there and be counted. And I don't think they've had.
Well, I'm telling you, Mark Reynolds has had to come on. Ash Taylor's gone off an early injury there. That's an enforced change. But I'll tell you, not a bad change. Mark Reynolds coming on.
Yeah, I think it's obviously you want your main team to start, and you started still in the pitch, but after 6-7 minutes, Aberdeen's had to make a change. But I'm sure Reynolds will come on and he'll just cruise through the match.
Well, I was just saying, Macca suggesting that you're going to change your mind on the basis that Ash Taylor goes off is stretching it, Murdo, because I think they've got more in their arsenal than Ash Taylor.
Apparently, up to 10 minutes, you're allowed to change.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Macca's talking about your spineless display from midweek, and you've been getting belters. Even when you're walking down the supermarket, Ruffy, 1 minute you're hard hitting, you're talking about a heavy 3-0 defeat by Slovakia against Scotland would be time for the manager to go. I said no, he's got to stay in charge. And then 24 hours later, suddenly you turned into a Disney character and you were all soft and fluffy.
I had to say, the reason I said 3-0 if we get beat 3-0 was because I didn't think it was possible for us to get beat 3-0.
So you were just treading on safe ground.
I thought we were organised enough not to be turned over, but we certainly weren't organised enough to be turned over. So it was a hasty. No, we all make hasty decisions. I mean, you've made 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, as I say every week, I missed that house, do you?
It was only 2.
Okay, that's fine. You'll need to dig yourself out of that one as well, Rob.
Stop playing that time.
You can't get that right.
You get that number, you just lose count. You just keep.
Exactly. And now Mac will go home and somebody will say to him, I need names. It's as simple as that. Okay, that's you right up to date with all the goals as they hit the back of the net. And there's lots to talk about throughout the afternoon if you want to give us your opinion. We were throwing out there on Twitter at Peter and Ruffy the poll: should Scotland be playing with 2 strikers up front, or as Murdo suggested, you're going to Wembley, it can only be one. Can Lee Griffiths play up front, holding the ball in with his back to goal? I have my doubts about it, but I take Macca's point. North and south of the border, you were a top draw striker, Macca, and you know what it's like to drag people, defenders, get them out of their comfort zone.
It was good when Naismith was there, because Naismith could drop in and he could get forward, a bit like Sinclair at Celtic. He can get up with the striker, and if Griffiths can get someone like Naismith playing, then I don't see why he can't. Stones is not the finished article, and I would fancy my chance against the centre halves in England at the moment, because they're all right.
Let me ask you, as it is just now.
He said he was rubbish.
Who's rubbish?
He said you were rubbish yesterday. The 5-a-side.
Me?
Aye. And now you fancy yourself against Stones?
And a wee in a room
in a confined space.
You know what I mean? When I played that,
at your peak, Macca, I think you would have given the best of English.
If you're Lee Griffiths just now, and as it is just now, you're not getting picked for the first team, and you don't get picked for the first team for the next 4 weeks. Do you think you're justified to go in and play against England?
I don't think no. But he's better than the other two.
If you're not playing 90 minutes for the next, so you would be still confident enough to go in and.
I would be confident enough to go in. Listen, the boy, no disrespect, the boy Martin's not scored in 20 odd games. So if you're a player, I played in midfield for a few years. You're not going to fire that ball into the box to him. You're going to go, which is going to come right back at us.
That's right.
So you're going to try something different. So it changes the whole complex of the game.
But I agree with you to a certain extent with Griffiths, but Griffiths hasn't proved that he can score at that level.
But how's he going to get to prove it if he's not getting a game?
Well, there's the last 15 minutes. He had 3 chances and he never scored.
We got the 3 chances.
I know he got the 3 chances.
But the other strikers don't get these chances.
I can see where you're
forgotten here.
No, I can see where you're coming from. But what I'm saying is he hasn't been. He's just beginning to prove himself in European. He wasn't getting picked for Celtic because everybody went, well, can he score against European sides? But now he's our main guy who's going to solve all our problems at a higher level, which hasn't been proved.
If you've not got McCormick there, you've not got Rhodes. He's the only one that is a proven goal scorer.
Yeah, but
Fletcher's not a proven goal scorer. Neither is Martin.
People obviously people down in England would hit you, well, look who's scoring goals against.
He's
You know what I mean? The boy Martin's
scoring goals down in the Champions League.
the boy Martin is playing a higher level of football than what Lee Griffiths is.
Well, what would you say about Craig Gordon then? Look who he's playing against to be a good goalkeeper.
Yeah, I mean, all I'm doing is
that's
putting
all.
that case.
All the ones.
All I'm saying is once Lee Griffiths gets thrown in there and he doesn't score for 4 or 5 weeks,
So
that's what he's going to get hit
Would you rather have
with.
Chris Martin playing against England
No,
up
but
against
Chris- no, I wouldn't have-
Stones and Cahill, or would you rather have somebody like Griffiths who's going to try and lean on his shoulder?
But
because they two are quick players.
All I'm saying is once Lee Griffiths goes in there and has 4 or 5 games and doesn't score, that's what he's going to get hit with.
Well, of course he is, but you've got to give him a chance. He
Give him a
scored
chance.
40 goals last year. You're entitled to get. If Gordon says he can't do the step up, then you've got to play him and show everybody that he can't do the step up. But you've got to give the boy a chance. That's what I'm saying.
Again, no, we're going back to the
He might not
talking
be able to
about
do
the
it.
strikers, about Scotland playing 2 strikers. There's Celtic, all the fans and yourself included last season were saying they've got to play 2 up.
Well, the only
And
reason
he's
I was
changed-
saying it-
he's
the only
changed
reason I was
now.
saying it because we didn't have any pace in the midfield, but now he's got pace.
But look
Then
at
they've got
it now. It still works with one, and I still think going to Wembley, 1 striker's enough for us, as long as we've got people who can come from the middle of the park and support the
exactly.
strikers.
We didn't have that at Celtic. I mean, now Sinclair's gone back.
Sinclair's gone up there,
Right, Sinclair. So all of a sudden you've got a total different team.
Stennismuir nil, Stranraer 1. Willie Gibson with the goal. That's at the bottom end of League One. And Stennismuir just 2 points above my tip to win that division, Peterhead, who are rock bottom at the moment. But Jim McInally, I'm almost certain, will turn that around, or I'm going to look mightily silly for that division, which at the moment I think a lot of people suggesting that Livingston will run away with it because of their full-time status. Partick Thistle 0, Hamilton Accies 1, Massimo Donati scoring the goal. Ruffy, some more problems at Firhill for Alan Archibald.
Yeah, and I think in that game, I think everybody would know that the first goal is going to be really, really important. Partick Thistle fans will have to hang on in there and see if they can turn that round. But with Chris Doolan not playing today, you know, I just think Partick Thistle's an uphill battle. There's not enough other players score to help them out a hole, so it's a difficult one for them to score 2 goals.
Well, it's funny you saying that because Chris Doolan usually is the man that has to, drag them out of the problems. He hasn't scored regularly this season. It's been Chris Erskine who's actually been the man who's got 5 goals for them, who's been doing most of the scoring. In contrast to that, Hamilton has changed their strategy slightly, Murdo. Suddenly you have a guy at 35 years of age, I beg your pardon, and Massimo Donati comes in, gets his 2nd goal of the season. He's added a bit of experience to that team.
A wee bit of class as well. No, he's a good football player, but Hamilton, as you know, Peter, they've lost so many late goals. They've got themselves in front or got an equaliser and they're losing late goals. So I think Partick, it's a long time to go in the match, but Thistle's got to try and get up the park and score some goals, because this is a game most of the fans will be turning up. They've got to beat Hamilton. That's one of the teams that's going to be battling down the bottom end of the table. And they've got to, home match, Partick Thistle at home, they've got to make sure they get all 3 points.
Yeah, no wins in the last 7, Ruffy. Lost in the last time out against Rangers. Suddenly, you only get 2 draws in the last 7 games. So suddenly you're now getting to the point you think, I mean, they're not in any way cut off at the bottom.
No, but that's why it was important. It was a big 3 points today, because if you're looking at the games there, Kilmarnock, Dundee, you're thinking they'll possibly not take anything today. If you got 3 points, you would jump above the 3 of them. But if you don't jump above the 3 of them, then all of a sudden you're just looking at the fixtures and you're looking at where you're sitting, and the pressure just mounts and everybody starts grumbling and moaning. But he's done it every year for the past 3 or 4 years, but it's not a comfortable situation to be in, sitting down there for the whole season.
But even your fans sit and look at the games, Peter, before the match, and they think, oh, this is a great chance of getting all 3 points, and if you don't get it, they go on a downer, and then it goes negative throughout the club, and it's difficult when you're on a run, sitting at the bottom of the table and the fans turning up and they're always getting on your back. As soon as the player gives the ball away, Mac.
I've got to say why as well, because Hamilton keeps producing players. They keep producing decent teams and boys coming through, and there's got to be something that teams can, like Thistle, the supporters will say, well, why can they find them and we can't? And it's something you've got to say all credit to Hamilton. They keep doing it year in, year out, Peter.
Yeah, Mark Reynolds has had the ball in the back of the net for Aberdeen, but he's been ruled offside, and the fans were cheering there. But nothing worse when you're starting to cuddle somebody in the stand that you don't know, and then you have to apologise because it's not a goal.
I do that quite often.
Oh, absolutely. Still,
whether it's a goal or not.
I was just about to say, Murdo, I'm so glad you said that. I didn't want to go for it. Also, another man that we've been mentioning week in, week out is Tony Watt. Again, he's a source of frustration for some Hearts fans because Robbie Nielsen's been raving about him. Connor Salmon set him up there for a shot, and he's blasted the ball. It could easily have ended up at Murrayfield.
Well, Frank's the one you want to ask about this one. If you're not scoring goals, your confidence goes a wee bit low. And then when you get opportunities like that, you've not got the confidence to hit the target. But if you're hitting the target, I mean, I'm just thinking of the chances he had. He had a chance at Aberdeen, shows a blow off, chance at Celtic.
Listen, there's no doubt the boy's got talent.
No,
he's definitely got, bundles of talent. And I think he's found a team that, that really appreciates him, because he does a lot of good work. Out with scoring.
He needs his reward as a striker.
He's probably, I've never seen this one that you're talking about, Ruffy, but he's probably blasted it. Whereas sometimes it's easy just to pass it into the net. You don't have to bulge the net, do you?
No.
1-0 to Celtic.
Will do that, so.
Scott Sinclair has scored. Macca, sorry to interrupt. 8th goal of the season.
Brilliant.
They're leading by a goal to 0 against Motherwell.
Yeah, different class. I mean, I'll keep harping on about a new manager coming in, and Brendan's come in. The 3 signings he's made has just been different class. Torre, Sinclair, and Dembele.
How important do you think it is for a manager to actually have that hands-on approach to it? Because that has been a criticism of Celtic.
Could be something to do with John Park. Could that be, maybe he said, look, I'll bring one people in. Maybe Brendan's done it, and I don't know, but you've got to say John Park's done a great job there. Now there's a manager coming in saying, no, you're not bringing my players to me, I'll tell you who to go and get. And maybe there's a wee change, definitely a change of power, because I think Mr. Lawwell and John were doing most of the signings. Good try to get it's continental, isn't it? They do that.
That's right.
Again, is that a little bit of supposition in your part, Macca?
No, I think it was a known fact at Celtic Park. I mean, I think everyone in the media knew about it, apart from you, obviously. But
No. I'm just careful that when people make glib statements that they don't have any foundation with, I have to counter it.
Me,
like Macca, yeah, absolutely. I hate to be the killjoy of fanciful stories, but I'm sure the managers have had some say in some of the players. Maybe not all of them, which I think is probably the more pertinent point, Macca. Aberdeen 1, Ross County 0. Johnny Hayes has scored the goal, and as ever, Johnny Hayes, I think, is the best player in that team. 3rd goal of the season.
Yeah, wonderful player. Great pace, gets in behind. He can take defenders on, and that's a rarity now in modern day football, that he's picking the ball up, going to a full back, slowing him down, and then great pace by him and whipping the ball into the middle for the strikers to go and put the ball into the net.
Yeah,
in many ways it's going back away, Peter, because it's like an old-fashioned player. You don't see many people taking players on now. No. You don't see it, it's all passing.
It made a massive mistake last year when I said Adam Rooney should be in the Scotland squad.
I've not kicked a box.
He's Irish. The boy Johnny Hayes, nationality. Do we have a nationality for Johnny Hayes?
You're not going to clear him for Scotland. He's the Republic of Ireland.
That's just why I'm asking before I say it. Yes. And he's the kind of player I think should be playing.
Yeah, but I've got it down here. Look, I've got my stats.
You are aware that you mentioned that 3 years ago on the Peter and Ruffy football show?
No, it was Adam Rooney.
Oh, was it Adam Rooney? Was it? I knew it was one of them, and I thought to myself, well, he says, why is he not going to play for Scotland? I said, it's because he comes from the Republic of Ireland, Murdo. It's a simple.
Maybe that's the barrier for it.
It was even worse when I said, the first couple of months ago, and I said about why is he not playing in Gordon says, because he's got a broken arm.
Exactly.
I said, oh, okay then.
David Cunningham says, sorry, Ruffy, Partick are going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
on Twitter.
Yeah, at this moment in time, I don't think you could disagree with him. I think any team.
Ryan Edwards has just equalised. There'll be no playoffs for Party Crystal. They could be title contenders.
Top 6.
See, Maka, see how quickly he changes his opinion. It's incredible. Hey, that's a good equaliser.
Yes, and he's. I saw him in some of the early games. He's quite a busy wee player. I think he could be one new player that has hit the ground running. But they still need. When you're down there, you need that second goal.
Yeah.
And Hamilton's the same circumstance. They would think that they're going to try and hang on to that 1-0 for 90 minutes, and it's just not going to happen. No. And until you get that wee bit of clear way, you're always under pressure right up to the end.
Yeah, Livingston 0, Albion Rovers 1. That's a good opening goal for Darren Young's side there, because Livingston are now just ominously tucked in behind in second place in that division. I think the general feeling is, Murdo, their full-time situation will start to tell as we hit the winter months and beyond.
Again, when you're in that kind of stable, Peter, that you're looking at it and you're a good side, don't think about looking for the future towards Christmas and because you're the full-time side. You should be doing it just now.
Yeah.
No, get yourself miles away just now, and then if you hit a bad spell over Christmas into the new year, then you've got enough leeway in front. But if you're thinking, well, we'll turn good, some of these guys are so fit in the part-time or full-time, they think they're fitter than you. You'll get out and work harder.
Yeah. Stephen Boyd scores the goal for Albion Rovers. The difference between the two sides, early days, but if you want to keep right up to date with all the goals as they hit the back of the net, reaction to the first half and then into the second half as well, then keep it locked here. You can interact with us at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter. Give us your thoughts on what Murdo MacLeod, Frank McAvenny and Alan Ruff have had to say. Don't forget, you can change your opinion from the first half to the second half. Sometimes Ruffy changes it in a sentence. It's as simple as that. You can mention it on Twitter. You can give us your messages on Facebook, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy as well. We would love to hear from you on a day like today, which is a very positive message going out across all the country. Show racism the red card. It takes place over a 2-week period. There's always a match in Scotland that's organised where lots of former footballers and celebrities get together, play a little game of football, and then try and post out that message that we like to, on a regular basis, put out on this programme as well, because we have to be all inclusive and we have to try and stamp it out, and I don't think we can confine ourselves, Murdo, to just a 2-week period. It's got to be all throughout the year.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's a lot of these things are highlighted for a short space of time, and then people, oh, that's a great idea, let's get behind it, and then that's it. They don't do it for the whole year. So I think when you look at it, it's hopefully more and more people are taking it on board, especially when the people are turning up into playing some of these charity games as well.
Yep. Ross County are down to 10 men in that match at Pittodrie. Tim Chow's been sent off for some serious foul play, and I'll tell you, the last thing you want is 10 men at Pittodrie, you're a goal down, and now they really are up against it, Ruffy.
Yeah, but particularly Aberdeen, that sometimes people say it's always difficult to play against 10 men. It's okay if you're trying to hold on to something, but they've got nothing to hold on to, so you would think Aberdeen would capitalise on that and go forward and maybe hit another couple in.
Yep, absolutely. I'll tell you, Theo Walcott has scored for Arsenal against Swansea. Arsenal leading by a 1-0. At the top end of the Premier League this season, I'm wondering, last season you were starting to look at 3 or 4 sides who were weak, who maybe didn't have the right manager in place, maybe they were questioning whether the manager should stay. I'm talking, of course, about Arsene Wenger. Suddenly this season, you have 3 or 4 teams who've strengthened, who really, they've really come to the boil. New managers. Wenger, I mean, Arsenal seem to be a different prospect this season as well.
This might be their year, because obviously there's going to be a challenge from Man City, Man United, Chelsea. Everybody's thinking that it's going to be different from last year, going out and winning most of the games, Peter. But you look at Chelsea's bad run there, good result for them today, but I think Wenger again will just keep them sitting up there. And then, mind you, last year finished second top, so it doesn't get much better than that for a side who doesn't spend as much money as the Manchester clubs.
Yeah, although to be fair to you, if you ask any Arsenal fan, I think the only way it does get better is trying to end this long barren spell of not having won the league.
Yeah.
Never a better chance marker than last year.
No, I think that was a big criticism of Arsene Wenger last year, because it was a terrible league. The top boys didn't produce what everyone thought they were going to produce.
That's right.
They've all stepped up to the mark now, and I didn't think Arsenal would be in the shout in the mix this year, because I thought all the top boys would step up after last year. But they're there. I mean, it's still early, and I know they're great players, but you know, Walcott's not lasted a season for so long now. So if they can keep players like that, you know, I think Ramsey's injured again. If they can keep their top players playing and on the pitch, then they've got a wonderful team.
Who do you think's going to win the Premier League in England?
One of the Manchester clubs.
Yeah, I've picked Man City. What about you, Murdo?
I'm just laughing at yours. One of the Manchester clubs. That's two teams he's picked. Yes. What two do you want?
Sorry. Well, one of them.
I'm going to go Man City and Man City.
There you go.
Right.
There you are.
Right, okay.
I'll go Man City and Chelsea.
Man City and Chelsea. Ruffy?
You went for Liverpool last year, didn't you?
Yeah, they blew it.
You blew it. As soon as you never won a game, and you said
he's nothing like just a broad line from Macca on it, but I thought Liverpool would be good, but it just didn't.
Chance this year, didn't they?
Again, they're another side that suddenly are playing well. I mean, I actually fancy Liverpool to win against Manchester United Monday, which is something you never usually thought about. You know,
I fancy them as well.
I would fancy Liverpool if they had a sort of a Suarez, but they don't have a Suarez, so I always think they're going to fall off the rails. But I'm going to go for Man City, because I think when the January window comes, I think they'll go big.
I think
they'll spend lots of money.
Well, I'll tell you, it won't be on Gareth Bale, Ruffy, because he's got a £450 million buyout clause, which I thought was a very interesting point. And basically, Hugh McDonald was our guest on the programme yesterday in the boot room, and again he highlighted something which I think a number of clubs will be taking into consideration, Murdo, which is the Chinese league. And the money that's at their disposal. The last thing some of the clubs in La Liga, or indeed the Premier League in England, will want is for suddenly the money to talk and get them all over to a league and steal away the key players. Because, you know, you can talk about the excitement of the Premier League in England, but the Spanish league's technically better. They've had the Champions League final for the last 2-3 years.
That's right. No, it's a better league to watch, I think. No, the Premiership in England, everybody talks about it, thinks it's the best league in the world. But I think when you watch the Spanish games, there's more excitement, better technique from the players as well. They've got the best players in the world playing in Spain just now.
I'll tell you, Partick Thistle should have had a penalty. The fans are absolutely raging. You know what they're like in that Jackie husband stand. Chris Erskine appeared to be tripped in the penalty box by Massimo Donati. The referee waves play on, and the Jackie husband stand, Murdo, sometimes they are angry even if Thistle score. I was just looking at you, just checking. I feel as if I was like Ben Turpin there. I was really meaning you, but I was looking at him. Look up Ben Turpin in case you don't know who it is.
It's a stone waller. It's an absolute stone waller. I don't know what the referee was thinking.
That telly anyway.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, that's the breaks you need when you're down there, and if you don't get them, you know, the things, you know, just pile up. But until they get the second goal, it won't be a comfortable day there at Farrell.
Yeah, it's Dennis Muir, Nils Stranraer to Walker getting the second goal there. Falkirk 1, Dunfermline 0, and Craig Sibbald has managed to get the goal. I think Craig Sibbald deserves tremendous credit for a young man who has basically suffered a disease where he's losing his hair, and to come out and be able to say that to people and tell his story, I think deserves tremendous credit. We've had him as a boot room guest on the programme. He's a great lad, very talented footballer, but you know what it's like, Macca, you know, when you're in the limelight, sometimes you don't want to talk about certain things. I think his courage will help so many other people who are not in the limelight.
And it's good for him. He's obviously a confident lad to come out and talk about things like that, which is great for for himself. It proves that he's got a great temperament.
Even in the dressing room, Frank. No, actually to get in that day to tell his teammates.
Cruel. It's so cruel. Football dressing rooms is really probably the cruelest place I've ever been in.
Macca Arsenal are 2-0 up. Walcott's second goal.
Just told you, keep Walcott fit and players at Arsenal, then they've got a chance, because again what we keep talking about, pace. Walcott's got pace, and if you've got players, Sinclair, pace, all these boys with pace, it's just amazing how they can in today's game.
Ruffy, Shea Logan scoring for Aberdeen. If Shea Logan's scoring for Aberdeen, that tells you at 2-0 that the full-backs are now bombing forward, because I'm told the tackle by Tim Chow on Johnny Hayes was one of those tackles that a number of people in the football game, it could have been a leg breaker. So luckily Johnny Hayes has escaped serious injury.
Yeah, they've been seeing more and more of that tackle. I think I thought players were advised not to do that. Tackle from 10 yards when the boots up, but there was a couple last night with in the Rangers game as well. A couple of Inverness boys were lucky not to see red.
I thought Ross Draper should have had a red card.
That was a lunge from distance. That it made contact, and he made contact with the ball. So I was surprised that Rangers weren't saying that.
Whether it makes contact or not now, Ruffy, they say it's intent, isn't it? So I mean, which I think is crazy. If you go to get the ball, and how can the referee interpret that?
That's the one thing. The interpretation is where the problem lies. Sometimes, Murdo, with the referee.
Well, that's the big thing. But again, the referee's produced a red card, so he's off the park anyway, so we can talk about the challenge. But again, he's got to be educated in that, because the last thing you want to do is injure another player.
Queen of the South 0, Morton 2. This is a big scoreline, because this is a Queen of the South side at the top of the table. This will give a real bonus to the other sides in the chasing pack, and I'm talking of course about Hibernian, who slipped up before the international break. Now Jamie McDonough getting that goal for Morton, so there's 2 goals to the good there. Kevin Lloyd has posted a message to us at facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy, and he says, alright guys, just want to know what's with the uniforms. Well, these are our new team jerseys.
What happened to the new ones, actually?
The new ones are coming on Tuesday, Macca, with the smaller badge, Murdo. So the error has been rectified. But I was with Murdo last night, because as you know, Macca, we do actually like to hang about together from time to time, which I used to do with you 20 years ago, until I realised that if I wanted to see the next 20 years of my life, I had to stop. I was going to say, Murdo has kindly suggested, Ruffy, and because you are the executive producer on this programme, and I've written down all the things that you contribute, what Murdo suggested is what we suggested is that we sign these polo shirts and give them away in a competition.
Brilliant.
The charities. They can auction them off.
There's a great idea.
Maybe make £100.
Well, listen, 100.
No, but
we're expecting a lot more.
Absolutely. Well, not only that, you can
get a couple of hundred in Germany.
To be fair, let's be honest about it. Ruffy and myself, not only could you make £100, but the person who gets it'll keep you dry at Tea in the Park Festival. To be perfectly honest with you, use it as a tent. So, with that in mind, Ruffy, I think it's a good idea.
What about the badges?
That was a mistake on my part. I'm holding my hands up. I looked at the size that was sent to me in an email, and I thought, that's just nice. And then it came, and I thought, I'm going to get absolutely battered by the boys here.
My pal Donald, who sits and watches it every Saturday, and he just says,
hi Donald.
He talks about the badge.
It's a talking point.
It is a talking point.
The only thing missing is the American national anthem as we start the programme.
You used to put that all across there to your heart, but the badge is still above the size of my hand.
Well, as Ruffy said at the start, everybody makes mistakes, so we'll rectify it when the away strips come, and they are dangerous. I'm telling you. We'll be able to go to nightclubs, Ruffy, and give it, our usual.
You might get in.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, when was the last time you were in a nightclub, Ruffy?
He's been in them all the time. He goes to them all the time.
No. I honestly can't. Unless it was an opening. If it was an opening and you're asked to go, you have to go along.
You've seen an opening, you mean?
You've seen an opening.
Just out of curiosity, what was the Plaza opening like, Ruffy? When was the last time you were at a club? It's been a long time.
It was Locarno, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even I don't know.
Hey, what about this? Queen of the South 0, Morton 3. Gary Oliver scoring. Macca, What's happening?
I think they've enjoyed their break too much. I think the boys.
Aye.
Couldn't say with a wee couple of days off. I think.
But that could happen.
It could happen.
A lot of the teams not playing for a couple
and it's
for a week.
And Duff's kept Martin going, and that's when we keep talking about it. But I'll say it again. He's a quality manager. He's learnt from some of the top managers, top coaches in the world, not just in Britain. So
that's a very good point, Mackie, you make, because he has actually travelled to a number of countries with people that he's worked with, Gianluca Vialli, and he's been able to see all sorts of different aspects of coaching.
At Chelsea, was Mourinho at Chelsea. I mean, that doesn't get much better. They're raving about him.
But again, Peter, you touched on it. Man manager, the way he handles the players, and that's what it's all about. You could go on the training ground and you organise things, good functions, whether it's defensively, attacking wise, but then it's how he treats the players, the way he speaks to the players, and if the player gets on with the manager, then they work harder for him.
Yeah, Gylfi Sigurdsson has got one back for Swansea against Arsenal. It's now 2-1 to Arsenal in that match. And of course, they've got a new manager in there for Swansea. Guidolin, Bob Bradley. Guidolin, I was going to say eventually, it's the longest sacking of all time, because he knew 4 or 5 weeks earlier on, because they were meeting everybody in their granny to discuss his position, which I think at times, it's just
terrible.
It's not good.
He walked in a hotel when they were meeting Bradley. He went there apparently to meet his friend in some hotel.
Is that right?
He walked in the Germans meeting Bradley.
Yeah.
They just shouted over them. Mind pay my 40 grand into the wages this week.
Yeah, but it's not good, is it?
That's football now, Peter, is like that. Before it was always, there's going to be a meeting, a press conference tomorrow to see who the new manager is. The new managers are in place weeks before the guy even gets sacked.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not
to say that.
It's not an area you like to discuss with any great.
Here's a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Scott Sinclair has just scored, and we know he scored.
Yes.
The 2000th goal in the SPL.
Yeah.
There you go.
Not the SPL, but
the old Premier League.
Who scored the 1000th goal in the old Premier League?
Well, you're just a bag.
Celtic player.
Yes.
You're just a bag.
It was a Celtic player.
Sean Maloney.
In the old.
Sean Maloney.
I'm talking about a way back.
Do you know?
Yes, I do.
Is this?
This is a way back. This is a way back in our era.
Well, hold on a second. I just need to clarify something with you. You are aware that the Premier League had 3 incarnations.
Yes.
75 it started.
This is a 75 one.
75?
Yeah, who scored the 1000th goal in
75?
In the 75 era.
And with 1975?
When it started in 1975.
Right.
Who scored the 1000th goal?
It was somebody else.
And what year was that, Ruffy?
I would say it would be around about
78?
Yeah, around about then.
Around then?
No, maybe. Around about 7. Yeah.
Bobby Lennox?
No.
George McCluskey?
No.
Charlie Nicholas?
Why are you thinking it's a Celtic player?
Well, you just said it was a Celtic player.
You said yes.
No, I just said yes to us, but you're right. Keep going.
Dixie.
No.
Dixie Deans had stopped playing for Celtic long after that. So 1978, it's a Celtic player.
70-ish, yeah.
70.
Well, I'll let you know, I was the goalkeeper, okay. That lost.
He scored against you?
Yeah.
Oh,
in 1978. Wow,
there's a lot.
That narrows it down to about 3.5 million players.
They're all in London.
I can't believe you haven't got Kenny. He's the Kenny. He's nearly mentioned everybody else but him.
Frank McGarvey.
Before that.
Before Frank McGarvey.
George McCluskey, Tommy Burns.
Yeah. And it's 1978.
Who's the main goal? Who was the main goal scorer at Celtic?
Johnny Doyle.
Not in 19. Is it 1978?
Yeah, I'm sure he was there in the 70s.
Oh, that means he's from 1942. If you'd suggested that, Ruffy, your grasp on any time.
Well, I'll tell you who was the scorer. It was Kenny Dalglish.
Aye.
He got by 1978.
Well, I never said 78. I said the 70s started in 75.
He said Douglas.
He scored. No, you never said Kenny Dalglish. You never said Kenny
Dalglish.
No. No. But he'd moved to Liverpool in 1977.
77. Well, it must have been
77.
76.
Yeah. Can I just say to you, I usually get freaked out when I meet anybody who was born after Ken Dalglish signed for Liverpool. I used to get really worried about that because I thought, I'm getting on now. You know, if somebody signed after.
I was a Celtic supporter going to games in that time, and I thought my world had ended when Kenny left. 77.
Let me tell you this: Scott Fraser has scored for Dundee United. St Mirren 0, Dundee United 1. Jack Ross has got to go. It's just not working out for him after one game.
Macca's got to go. He put his money in St Mirren.
And I can tell you, Hibs are down to 10 men. This is incredible, Ruffy. On a day when Bartley's been sent off, on a day when Queen of the South are behind by 3-0 against Morton, this is a day, you know, when the Hibs fans are expecting Hibs to step up to the plate, but 10 men for the rest of the afternoon.
Yes, this will be the third one in 4 weeks with Hibs. You know, it's just, I don't know whether players are trying too hard to impress Neil Lennon, but certainly it's not the way you want to go, particularly away from home. And certainly they'll have to start and dig in there and get something out of that game. But it just gives everybody else underneath them hope. The likes, I know Morton's not going to be up there, but they're going to close the gap, you know, if they keep losing games like that.
Yeah, what about Kevin De Bruyne has just missed a penalty for Manchester City. It's his first game back. He's been one of the best signings of the last couple of seasons, isn't he, Mark?
I think he's a magnificent player. I mean, obviously, was it Chelsea wasn't wanted, and I just think he's such a quality player.
That's good.
Moussa Dembele's just hit the post for Celtic, shifting the ball onto his right as he does, and then just firing it in. Hits the post. Could have been 2-0 to Celtic. They're leading by 1-0 at the moment. And then Stephen McLean has had a great chance to break the deadlock for St Johnstone against Kilmarnock, but he's been flagged for offside. Other goals coming in the Premier League in England as well. I think Bournemouth have got a goal back there. I can keep you right up to date with all. They're 2-1 up now, Bournemouth in that match. Bournemouth 2-1 up on Hull City, and they've just got a penalty as well, so there's even more worries there for Hull City under Mike Phelan, who's managed to get a contract now, a permanent deal.
I think there's been a goal at Partick Thistle.
And Partick Thistle are 2-1 up on Hamilton Accies. Don't think there's been a goal, Ruffy. Just actually tell us there's been a goal.
There has been a goal, but it's Liam Lindsay, the big centre half, has come up. I'm supposing it's a header. He's not going to score many, you know, his feet, so I would think it would be a goal from a corner, possibly.
Okay,
so that's 2-1. That's a great, just before half time. Good to go into the dressing room.
Who picked Partick Thistle to win at home against Hamilton?
Yourself.
So that's one up.
Yes,
is there anyone behind?
Just sorry, I said 2.
Stanislas has got it. 3-1 to Bournemouth against Hull. There you are. Big score. What did you pick, Murdo, this afternoon?
Aberdeen.
You picked Aberdeen, so you're rock solid. Can't see you making any mistakes. What about you, Mackie? What have you got?
I've got St Mirren. I went for the Jack Ross effect.
Yes.
He's getting sacked after the game.
I think Jack has got a big job in his hands here. But the one thing about it that we mentioned, we had Graham Holmes as a boot-room guest on the programme, because we have guests from all across all the divisions. He mentioned that Jack has that tremendous ability, as we mentioned with Jim Duffy, that he can speak to individual players and motivate them as well. That's a good key to his success.
Yeah, and he'll go in there and he'll have to assess the players that he's got. There's nothing he can do about it. He might have his own idea of what players he wants to bring into the club, but certainly he's got a lot of experience at St Mirren, so it just depends on, you know, if he can get them all pulling in the right direction, because certainly they are a team that should be winning games, particularly at home, but you don't want to always start your first game with a loss.
Joe Allen scored his second for Stoke against Sunderland. This is a big worry. It's a hard job for David Moyes. I don't know how you solve the Sunderland situation. It's so difficult. And yet, you know, I look back at some of their managers now. I still believe, Murdo, they sacked Steve Bruce too early, and suddenly Steve Bruce now he starts his new job at Aston Villa. Yeah,
but again, when you're down there, Peter, the fans are not happy, that they're moaning about things, and because of this, there's so much money in the game, they just think, oh, sack the manager and move another one in, and it's really difficult down in England, as you know, Macca, that I'm saying the smaller clubs, the clubs without so much money, Peter, it's difficult for them because they're bringing in the player that they can afford, and that's just not good enough. because more and more the clubs are getting their foreign owners are coming in there. They're just putting so much money into the club, and they'll be able to bring a better quality player. And teams like Sunderland, I think they're really suffering just now because of it.
But Stoke, the chairman, I was listening to the chairman of Stoke, Peterson, I can't remember his second name, and he was saying, you know, this is the games that they're not going to compete against your Man Cities. You know, they've got a lot of money this year, Peter. What they're saying is they've got an awful lot of money, but there's a certain level of player, and Man City has got a certain level of player because the money that they've got. So if that level of player on the day plays to their full capacity, they will beat teams like Stoke. That's just what it is. But they've got to beat teams like Sunderland and teams round about them. That's where their league is, they say.
Listen,
they're doing it today.
Murdo McLeod could actually be right today if two other results go your way. Murdo, your prediction at the start of the programme that there could be 5 home wins in the Premiership in Scotland could come home to roost. I wonder if anybody backed Murdo on that. Aberdeen are ahead, Celtic are ahead, Partick Thistle are ahead, and now it's just Hearts and St Johnstone, Murdo, and suddenly you'll have that supercilious look in your face that we know so well.
Just a wee smile walking out the door. Just retire at the top.
Stock's been fun.
Yes, Kilmarnock have just scored.
No, they haven't. No, they haven't. Is there any chance? Please do not adjust your sets. Kilmarnock have not scored. You just said that to annoy Murdo. But of course, listen, the key elements here, Aberdeen are 2-0 up. Johnny Hayes got them on their way. Lucky not to have a broken leg in the game. And Ross County have been down to 10 men. Then, they've added a second goal, Aberdeen, in that match, so they are in control. And Celtic are leading by a 1-0 against Motherwell. And the key elements of Partick Thistle against Hamilton. Hamilton had taken the lead, but Partick Thistle have come roaring back in that match. The big shock in the Championship, it's Queen of the South 0, Morton 3. I know everybody's pinching themselves, wondering what has happened. The roof has caved in, and that's a home game in Dumfries for Queen of the South, and they're behind. And the Hibs fans must have been thinking today this could be a chance to go back top of the table, but they're going to have to do it, Ruffy, with 10 men.
Yep, and it's going to be an uphill challenge for them. It's I haven't that many often when I was at a team down to 10 men, but you just have to change everything round about. And if you've got a certain player, when you maybe get a chance to get that goal, then you can defend it. But when you've nothing, it's...
Yeah, I don't know why you're looking at Murdo. When he played with 10 men, he just won games all the time. I mean, there's no point in talking to him about it. He can't relate to you on that whatsoever, Ruffy.
Teammates were always saying there was always 10 men when you were playing.
There you are. There's a camaraderie and a bonding session in this studio that you don't need to go out for meals together. We can absolutely cane each other without getting the team spirit up. Frank McAvenny, Alan Ruff and Murdo McLeod are with me here in the studio. Half time fast approaching in all the games across all 4 divisions in Scotland. We'll bring you the latest there and in the Premier League in England as well. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. Half times across the country in all 4 divisions in Scotland and the Premier League in England. Let's have a look at the Premiership in Scotland today. 5 games on offer, of course. It was Inverness 0, Rangers 1 from last night. Aberdeen 2, Ross County 0. Celtic 1, Motherwell 0. Hearts 0, Dundee 0. Partick Thistle 2, Hamilton 1. And St Johnstone 0, Kilmarnock 0. So 2 of the 3 top sides there with a lead at home. What about the Championship? There's a shock in the Championship when you look at the scorelines there. Dumbarton 0, Ayr United 1, Falkirk 1, Dunfermline 0, Queen of the South 0, Morton 3. Wraith Rovers 0, Hibernian 0, and St Mirren 0, Dundee United 1. I don't think anyone who was picking any of the scores would have forecast Queen of the South being behind by 3-0. There's a long way to go in that one. Gavin Skelton's got one heck of a team talk at half time. Into League One. For the half-time scores, Brecon City 0, Alloa 0, Livingston 0, Albion Rovers 1, Queen's Park 1, East Fife 0, and Stenhousemuir 0, Stranraer 3. Airdrieonians against Peterhead is a 5:15 kick-off. Let's go into League 2 for the latest half-times. From that division, Arbroath 0, Forfar 0, Forfar down to 10 men, Cowdenbeath 0, Annan Athletic 2, Edinburgh City 0, Clyde 0, Montrose 0, Elgin City 3, and Stirling Albion 0, Berwick Rangers 0. In the Premier League in England, one game that had the early kick-off, Chelsea 3, Leicester City 0, Arsenal 2, Chelsea 1, Bournemouth 3, Hull 1, Manchester City 0, Everton 0, Stoke City 2, Sunderland 0, and West Brom 0, Tottenham 0. Crystal Palace against West Ham is a 5:30 kick-off. On the Sunday, it's Middlesbrough, Watford and Southampton against Burnley. And on Monday night, it's Liverpool against Manchester United. So, with that in mind, in the Premiership, any scoreline there from half-time that's caught your eye, Ruffy?
It's obviously Bournemouth, that leading a team, a team who are going to be down the bottom, same as everybody else. But 3-1, you don't get many goals scored by them in the first half of the game.
Okay, it was a mistake on my part. When I mentioned the Premiership, I was talking about Scotland.
I knew what you meant.
The Premier League is what it's called in England. What about Macca? Anything in the Premiership in Scotland, Macca?
I think Aberdeen will be delighted with 2-0, but I think Celtic would be disappointed only to score 1 at half time against Motherwell. I think they would have thought they would have took a few. Hearts, can they hold up and get a go ahead? Dundee's a tight, a little tight club that, and a team that's hard to score against. So that's a strange one for them. Now, with all that crowd there, and we're doing a wee small ground.
Yeah.
And it's very intimidating, but obviously it's not working on Dundee.
Yep, 13th goal of the season for Moussa Dembele. Certainly lucky for him. Will there be goals for Celtic in the second half, or will there be a fight back from Mark McGee's Motherwell? We'll look to the Championship as well, with Queen of the South behind. Can some of the chasing pack take full advantage? All these questions hopefully answered in the next part of the programme. Join us if you can. men. Scott Sinclair scored for Celtic against Motherwell. They're leading by a 1-0, and elsewhere Hearts and Dundee stalemate at the moment, but on the basis that Rangers got that win last night with Kenny Miller's 100th goal for the club, Hearts will be hoping they can stay in contention and keep it all tight at the top end of the table. Partick Thistle 2-1 at the moment. Ruffy, if they can build on that certainly will put the cat among the pigeons at the bottom end of the Premiership.
Yeah, but unfortunately for Alan Archibald, he's been standing there on numerous occasions at Firhill with winning a game and not being able to see it out. I think that'll be the biggest task today. And until they get that third goal, I don't think they'll be safe, because they're always likely to do something silly in the last 5 or 10 minutes. But he'll be happy in the dressing room at half-time at 2-1, but desperately needs that third goal.
Yep, and I have actually been at Firhill when Partick Thistle have had 2 goals of a lead, and still some Thistle fans are not confident of seeing it out. But stranger things have happened. You never know. They could hold on and get a valuable 3 points. Keep it locked here to STV and the Saturday Football Show. Every Saturday we like to keep you up to date with the chat, not only on the goals that are hitting the back of the net, the controversial points, and if you want to interact with us, at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy as well, and we'll read out some of your messages, the positive ones and the negative ones. We take it all on the chin. Both have to be treated with the same measure.
It does. People's opinion, we've all got it. So you're allowed to come on and give us a wee bit of stick.
Yeah.
Some people get bigger chins than others.
Yep, absolutely. So it's a good point, Mark. Can't argue with you on that. And with that in mind, as we go back to topics that we've been discussing, this week as well, we've been discussing the fact that, again, it just won't go away, the suggestion from an FC Copenhagen director that people are discussing this European league that would involve the likes of Celtic and Rangers and other clubs from across Europe.
Well, again, you're looking at the Karl-Heinz Rummenigge. He's talking about just the elite teams just to play in the Champions League. So I think it's the right thing that Copenhagen are doing, that they're giving a solution to the other clubs and giving them the opportunity. Would you like to go ahead with this? So again, we just need to sit back. But you feel as though if the top teams want to just stay together, Peter, and not involve the rest of the teams.
But it's going to, after a couple of years, it's going to get so monotonous, because the supporters will say, look, don't want to keep
it's always been like that. No, you look at the years gone by, the Italian clubs, the amount of people that turned up to watch Champions League games in Italy was terrible, because they were just getting fed up watching the same teams, same just in the October, November period, and they just fell out. They just didn't want to go and watch the same again. Yeah, and I think that's what's going to change, and it's maybe just make the change a wee bit more viable. That they're going to come and play together.
Peter, what countries was it? England,
Spain,
Germany,
and Italy.
Teams like France, countries like France, Holland, and I mean, I think it'd be great.
Don't think France was mentioned in it.
No, France is not mentioned in the top four.
Not in the top four.
My problem with this whole thing, though, is it might be a sellable asset to the Asian market, because maybe they're not as far into what we've been fed as a diet of European football. But eventually, and I'm not just saying this because quite simply we're a small country on the outside of it and trying and fighting tooth and nail to try and remain in it, Ruffy, but eventually I think people will get ever so slightly bored with it. Right now I'm looking at it, we've had 2 Spanish finals, all Spanish finals. And you're not going to move and deviate from the rich clubs in the latter stages of that Champions League shortly. When will we see a Porto? When will we see, the likes of Monaco making a Champions League final again? Well, we see a Steaua Bucharest. It's been a long time. Today, Celtic have launched the 50th year celebrations of Celtic winning the European Cup in 1967. Nobody in this country will ever see that happen again. No. Well, not in our lifetime anyway, unless the financial landscape changes.
Why now? No, why are they launching it now? It's in 16. It's next year, isn't it? Is it 50th?
Well, this was the start of the campaign after they played Zurich, all the way through to Lisbon, obviously against Inter Milan.
All right, so it didn't start till I thought, because I was wondering why it was campaign started a while ago. So
Yeah.
all right.
There are teams in France who have tried a wee bit and trying to compete with big money. Monaco tried it.
Yeah.
And there was somebody else tried it as well. PSV
Marseille.
have tried it, and it just hasn't happened. But the biggest thing in the lot is Celtic won't want to be in an Atlantic League. Celtic will see themselves bigger than that. Celtic will, if there is a big teams breaking away, Celtic will be pushing to be in that. I know financially they can't, but they will think with obviously stadium crowds. They'll be pushing. I don't think Celtic.
They're not wanted. They can't. They can't get in.
They wouldn't be eager to throw their name into we're with you, Copenhagen. We want to play with the Belgian sides.
But the way they're doing it now, Robbie, I mean, listen, Celtic gets through to and it's not just any team in any country, you get through to the last 16 in the Champions League, you shouldn't have to play 3 qualifiers the following season to get into it. I just think it's wrong. Not just for Celtic, but for any team in different countries. It's just, if they get to the last 16, I think there should be something, that you can play 1 qualifying game or something, I just think it was ridiculous that a team that got to the last 16 had to play 3 qualifiers.
Yeah, and of course this week is Champions League week. Murdo, you're going to be with us at the Emirates Arena, looking on to the backdrop of Celtic Park. Celtic against Borussia Mönchengladbach.
Yeah, it'll be a special game because obviously this is the games that matter for Celtic. The 2 games against Borussia Mönchengladbach. That's what
is that how they say it in Germany?
That's what they're looking at as well. This is their important games playing against Celtic because they feel as though now Celtic's got the point difference between them by taking a point off Man City. Then they've got to look at coming to Celtic Park to get a point and then winning at home against Celtic to finish 3rd in the group. And obviously Celtic will be thinking the exact opposite, get all 3 points at Celtic Park and then hopefully a point in Gladbach.
Well, I think that was a game changer. I think when you look at getting absolutely annihilated, they get annihilated with Barcelona and everyone thought, right, that's a whooping, boys. Now, the game at Celtic Park against Man City, that was a game changer, I think, because the intensity, the pressure that they've done, they right up the park and then right at Man City, played them at their own game, and I thought they came out on top.
Well, it lets the Celtic players, Frank, know that they can play to that level.
Yeah.
So that's the first time in an awful long time that Celtic's played at that level and consistently for the 90 minutes, so that they're out there, they get the 3-3, and now all the players going out to this game, they need the same attitude. They need the same mentality, going to the pitch thinking, we can win this.
First time in a long time I'm watching the game and I'm thinking, I wonder if they can keep this intensity up. Rather than, I wonder if we can hang on. I thought we could go and win it. I thought they could do something.
The biggest thing for Celtic is, for the players, is now the Man City game was no expectation. This one is a win.
Different mentality going into the game. You're right, Alan.
They have to go and deal with winning, having the pressure of having to win this game.
But as Murdo said, there is that. Now you can go in there and say, well, we can live in this league. We can live with the Germans because we've lived with Man City. Played their own game and the belief there.
Gladbach are sitting comfortable just now. I think they're about 9th.
Yeah, they are.
But they're sitting within points of being second top.
Yeah, well, they're 0-0.
They win today against Hamburg.
They're 0-0 against Hamburg today, and also they had a heavy defeat against Schalke by 4 goals.
That was strange, that one, because Schalke were sitting bottom of the table, Peter, albeit they're a big club. But to get thumped 4-0 was just a strange one from them. But I think they're a good side.
Yeah, and it was good to read Rainer Bonhoff, who was a great player in his day for Germany. He mentioned that the Germans will be in for a shock coming to Celtic Park with that atmosphere, Ruffy. It's something that, in the last game when we were on the programme and then we eventually sat down for the match, the atmosphere was absolutely incredible, and I think if Celtic get a goal in front, suddenly it seems to go up a few decibels, the noise, and it becomes even more intimidating.
Yeah, it is intimidating.
Still got to be able to play.
But it is intimidating, Peter. But I don't know about the guys, but I think when you go to a place like that, that's when you personally step up to it. Everybody thinks that it's just the Celtic players that step up. Away players coming. The good, really, really good players excel in that arena. That's when they produce the goods, and they're out there to show their stuff, and they raise their game as well.
What about Falkirk? 2-0 up on Dunfermline. Peter Houston's side are taking advantage, Frank, of what was going to be a big slip up from Queen of the South. Miles Hippolyte banging in the second.
I don't think Falkirk started the way I expected them to start. I thought they would just continue on for the way they were for last season, but they had a couple of slip ups.
Yeah,
and it looks like, you know, and it's a great word, momentum. The momentum's with them now, and they're just going to run over the top of teams. But it looks at, I think they didn't get it last year, but I think they could be.
A couple of people were saying, Frank, about Falkirk at the start of this season. They felt there wasn't the same fighting.
No, but that's what I'm saying. They didn't start off.
They didn't battle as well. But now they're getting into a routine, and they're starting to get the points back again and winning games.
Yep, absolutely, and unbeaten in their last 7, albeit a couple of draws in there. And in fact, eventually, I think they were defeated by Ayr in the cup. But other than that, as far as the league's concerned, suddenly you're talking about momentum. They've got it, and I think Peter Houston is another one of those managers. I mean, I hate to just harp on about it, but he's another one of those managers that's had to go and reinvent himself again, Murdo.
Well, he's always been an assistant in the early days, wasn't he? And he's about there, and then Peter got the job at United, and very successful there, winning the cup, things like that. And then at Falkirk, it's been a great move for him again, because he was. Did he not go to Celtic for a short space of time?
As a coach,
helping us with the youth set up, and now he's at Falkirk, and I just think they're a solid side, and they're one of the sides that will always be in the top 4.
Yep, is Peter Grant's son there? Is he back playing? Is he back playing?
I don't think he's back playing as yet.
Bad injury, but I think he's not far away, is he?
Yeah, he was
doing very well.
He was doing well. I think a lot of clubs were looking at him with the potential of cherry picking, which Falkirk are more than used to. And talking of Falkirk, I know it's a tenuous link, but I noticed that John Hughes and Stephen Presley could be in the running, Ruffy, for the Shrewsbury job. Be nice to see them get back involved in football and management.
Yeah, I think both of them have got at least a knowledge of the football down there, and the people know exactly who they are, but I don't think it'll be any different from up here when a job becomes available. There's 40 or 50 candidates going for them, so I think nowadays it seems to be, obviously you got to know something in the game, but it's who you know. If you know the chairman, you know the owner, and you've got people maybe putting a wee tuppence worth in for you, that can help you along the way.
I tell you, Scott Sinclair and Scott Brown and Moussa Dembele have tested Motherwell's goalkeeper Craig Sampson. He's produced 2 fantastic saves, still keeping it at 1-0 to Celtic.
They came in at 1-0, but it looks comfortable. It looks like the kind of game that you would want. I know it's still at 1-0, so you're not there, but it doesn't look as if Motherwell's too much of a threat going forward, Peter. So, I mean, they'll get the odd one, but it looks a comfortable day for Celtic, and if they can keep it that way, they'll be delighted, because the legs will not be heavy come Wednesday.
Yep, Jamie Walker has almost given Hearts the lead, and that's just a couple of seconds after, at the other end of the park, Dundee almost had it. Konstantin Gadzalov just crashing one off the bar. Dundee could have taken the lead. That really would have been an upset there, considering their form, Murdo, of late.
Yeah, Hearts have been going forward and had a few chances, Peter, and Dundee's went up the other end. But I always think Dundee are so well organised at the back. They're a very good defensive side, and I just think that they'll be looking at this game thinking they can just hang on at nothing each.
Mesut Ozil makes it 3-1 for Arsenal, and I think secures the points, Ruffy, for Arsenal. In a sense, we always talk about on this programme levels of players. When we were talking yesterday on the programme, Ruffy, about levels of players, Real Madrid have certain levels of players, and then they think to themselves, well, you might be in one of the world's greatest teams, but we will let you go. Ozil was one of them, that they thought, despite his heroics for Germany at the World Cup, they could afford to lose him.
Yeah.
Tony Kroos has been ideal for them in the middle of the park, and Arsenal end up getting Ozil. Has he lived up to expectation for you?
I think he did in the first season he came. I think he was a main player for them, but I don't think it dropped a wee bit. I mean, he still bags of quality, but I don't know about you, I just love watching Arsenal playing. I just love the pace they play, the passing they play. Okay, they have the odd result here and there you don't expect, but I still think they're an exciting team to watch.
I think so, but sometimes they overplay that. sometimes you're thinking that me you would cut in and just have a shot.
Aye.
And they want to find that little
Go again.
They want to walk it and they want to round the goalkeeper sometimes, and you're thinking, just have a shot, because I still, the biggest fault for me with Arsenal is they've not got a top drawer centre forward.
Mm-hmm.
They need a top man just to,
and they've got the money to buy one. That's the thing. They only need to spend
not a top
on
drawer,
one player. They've got enough to bring them in, but
if they had someone, they've all the top teams have got them, but a talisman that would come in and just bring people into the game, round about them and score goals, then I think Arsenal would be a challenge. They'd be forced to beat anyone.
Season tickets, average price, Ruffy. Marcus says he likes watching Arsenal. You need to have a fair few quid to watch them. Anything from 1,000 up to over 2,000 is the price for season tickets there. That's a lot of money. One of the most expensive about, to be honest with you. As it's now Dumbarton 0, Ayr United 3. Big win for Ian McCall's side.
Yeah, because the Arsenal one, that's why the pressure comes when they don't win things. When you're paying that kind of money for your season ticket, and you're not seeing your club picking up trophies, and other teams are. But that is a great result for Ayr United. I think bigger teams than Ayr United have went down to Dumbarton and failed. Hibs have went down there, didn't get the result that they wanted. So that's a great result for Ayr United.
That's a game though Dumbarton would be looking fancy their chances. Ayr coming up there, being at home, and they'll be really disappointed about that.
What about Alan Forrest? You were talking about him earlier. That's a hat-trick for him. Fantastic. And of course Gary Harkins.
That'll put him in the short window, Peter. Come January, somebody might just be looking at him.
Yeah, and Gary Harkins is in there in the middle of the park, and I hate to say this, but it's a division too high, too low for him. He's cruising that division now, Maka. Too good a player.
Once again, he's down there and he's head and shoulders above everyone else. But going down that division, Peter, and I know this for a fact, he's got to keep his motivation going because he knows he's better than all that, and sometimes that can go against you.
4-0 Morton.
4-0 Cooney South.
That is an incredible scoreline.
You usually see a red card at the other side with them down to 10 men, but they're not. And to be 4-0 up into the second half.
It's one of them. You'll be seeing people with Cooney South and kind of hamstring.
Well, sometimes Maka,
try and get off.
Well, I'm just saying, Jai Katongo's got the fourth, and I know a number of clubs are now looking at Jai Katongo, to look at that January transfer window.
Well, they could have. They could have went.
It was always to put it in the paper, and Jim. To be fair to Jim had a go and saying, "Look, just leave your boy alone. He's doing well. He's not ready for the bigger clubs down there. He'll go down there and he might not get a game."
Yep. Lee Griffiths has come on, Murdo, for Celtic, and Patrick Roberts as well. Gamboa going off, and Armstrong has gone off too. So clearly he just wants to try and freshen it up and get that second goal that would secure the points.
Yeah, well, the game's not done yet at 1-0, Peter. So he's had to make the change and just something a wee bit different. But to bring in two very offensive players and take off your right back, so obviously just going to maybe play three across the back and
he's got that
just
two up front,
strong in the middle of the park.
We're talking about
two up front,
Yep, absolutely. Celtic have got Borussia Mönchengladbach in midweek, and of course there's a return to the Nou Camp for Pep Guardiola after today's match against Everton, and Pep Guardiola will be, I think, a little bit nostalgic about it, but obviously he'll be keen to try and put one over on his old side.
Well, I think now it's up for Manchester City. They've been a big club for long enough now, with all the millions being put into their football club. This is a game, Peter, that they should be looking at and going to play, and not just going and sitting in and just allowing Barcelona to play. They should have the quality of players within their own 11 that they can go and give Barcelona a proper game in the Nou Camp.
Yep, absolutely, and of course there were so many fantastic players in that side that Ronald Koeman and Pep Guardiola were part of. They two are coming up against each other today. Manchester City 0, Everton 1. Romelu Lukaku, as if it's come right on time while we're talking about them. It's Ronald Koeman, the man who scored the goal that won them the European Cup in 1992 against which team? There you are, you three guys. Just suddenly you're in a comfort zone there. Ronald Koeman scored at Wembley for Barcelona against Murdo. I thought you would have been the man
German
to
team?
No. He scored against a team that Roberto Mancini was playing for.
Italian.
There's no fox in you, Ruffy.
Sampdoria.
Yeah,
Calgary.
Yeah. Can you remember any players from that Barcelona dream team in '92? Can you think of some of the players? Guardiola's one, Ronald Koeman's another. Anybody else?
No.
Okay then.
92.
One of my favourite goalkeeping names of all time, Ruffy. Zubizarreta. Yeah, what a fantastic name it was. Bergestein, Koeman, Romario, Nadal, Amor, Albert Ferrer, Salinas, Alexanko, Michael Laudrup, Risto Stoichkov, also Juan Carlos Munoz and Goycochea. Do you remember him?
Was it? And every single one of them all.
There's not many teams now that could talk about players as good as that.
Oh.
If you look at all the teams just now,
yes,
and you look at the quality of player it was about then.
I mean, it's a fantastic side.
Stoichkov was
a wonderful player.
Yeah, and the best one of that lot there that I think maybe, I don't know if he's underrated in Britain, but I liked Michael Laudrup. I thought he was a fantastic player. And I don't think even Brian, I think Brian would concede that Michael was the better of the two. Is that fair? Or would somebody like to argue with that one?
The different Brian was dribbling Michael was he was a top striker, wasn't he? He was a top draw.
So you think Brian's better?
No, the two of them were different. They were different kind of players. One, I think Michael was at the. I mean, played against him in Denmark, didn't we, in the World Cup? And he was different class.
Yeah.
He was different class.
So you're not going to commit yourself? No. Okay. Bournemouth 4, Hull City 1. I always think it's a good thing, Ruffy, to sign a permanent deal before you get cuffed. Do you know what I mean? Stanislas has got the fourth for Bournemouth against Hull City. Mike Phelan has signed the deal, and the money that he's moved on to is astronomical.
I don't know why he accepted the £500,000 rise in his wages. Shocking.
Yeah.
You thought he might have held out for a wee bit more.
Just out of curiosity, Murdo, I mean, how can you actually get to a point? Yeah, 3-2. Swansea have got another goal back there, so there's a real battle on. Arsenal have not secured it just yet. I mean, what must it be like, Murdo, when you just go to the cash line, you've got another £500,000 in there? What's it like, Murdo?
There's zeros.
Exactly. And you can go
in my account.
That's what I was thinking, Maka. And I can tell you, Baston has scored it. Borjan has scored for Swansea, so it's 3-2 to Arsenal now. Is there another twist in the tail down south? Ruffy, I was talking about some of the games that people might like to watch, might not like to watch if you can't get to a game. I always like people to go out and sample football. I took my daughter to her first ever Scotland game.
Yeah, she's not going
I bought her the pink shirt, Ruffy. I'm not a fan of it, but I think she liked the colours.
She's still crying as she recovered.
No, because I did say to her, this is your first football match, and I was trying to get her excited about it, Murdo. I was trying to, build her up. At Scotland, there's a big stadium, there'll be sweeties, you can sit down, you can enjoy the excitement, and if there's a close call for Scotland, we all sway and we go, ooh, and I was building it all up, and and she said, Daddy, football is boring. So that kind and by the way, after the first half, I couldn't even argue with her on a technicality.
She's not all football.
No, just this one.
Football is boring, and where's the sweeties?
Yes, absolutely.
Where's the sweeties you promised me?
Believe me, that's how it panned out. Honestly, I kid you not.
Sweeties midday night.
The first half, I can tell you, Morton have a penalty. This is do you know what this is? This is a hiding. Ross Forbes has just been brought down in the box. What a chance this is for Morton.
Yeah, I think you were looking at the history books to see when the last time Morton scored that many goals away from home. Yeah. I mean, that's an incredible result.
They've not scored yet, they're taking a penalty.
Yeah. Well, even 4.
It could be you that's in goal.
Even 4-0.
It could be somebody like you in goals, that'll be 5-0.
I'm not sitting beside him. Next week I want him moved back to his
Yes, absolutely, because I don't think you're too happy. Man City have a penalty. Remember, Everton, a goal up in that match. Romelu Lukaku has put them, and it's Hearts 1, Dundee 0. Patterson, what a couple couple of weeks it's been for Callum Patterson. He's scored the goal, and it's now Hearts leading Dundee by a goal to nil. Big problems there, and you only need St Johnstone, Murdo, for a full sweep. 5 homes.
Yeah, not too bad.
And it's now 5-0 for Morton. And it's Tom O'Weir who's scored the goal there. So, I mean, that's incredible, isn't it, Murdo?
It is, absolutely. No, we spoke about it when they scored early on, Morton. You thought maybe it's a wee bit too early and they'll maybe get Queen of the South going, but just kept on scoring goals.
Niall McGinn-Macca has scored for Aberdeen. They're now 3-0 up.
Well, they're doing now what we expected of Aberdeen to keep a little bit of pressure. I mean, you know.
And I can tell you, the penalty's been saved for Man City. What a chance to get an equaliser. That's the second one of the afternoon, and they still haven't been able to get back on level terms. I'll tell you, you know what's interesting about that? Since the Celtic result, and then Tottenham managed to replicate what Celtic achieved, Macca, suddenly people are saying, you know, have you got the bottle, have you got the steel to be able to handle teams getting in your face?
Manager's not as good as what we thought it was.
Sergio Aguero missed the penalty, which is all the more amazing because I think he's the best striker in the Premiership in England.
Oh, that's a good statement, yeah. Well, I think there's no too...
You don't agree with him, do you?
No, there's not too many that I could argue with you. No, I don't, not at the moment.
Not at the
moment.
No, I think he's the top man.
Yeah, I think he's the top striker.
I think he is, aye.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing this year, a name we haven't heard is Vardy?
Yeah, he scored 1 goal.
Amazing.
He scored 1 goal.
But it's going to be really interesting, Alan, throughout the season where Leicester are going to finish. Because obviously they're a target now to all the big teams because they're desperate to beat them just to let them know, put them back in their place. And it's going to be tough.
Top half of the table, they'll be happy.
Do you know who I'd be delighted for today? And again, I offer my sincere apologies to Brechin City if it pans out this way. But I'd be delighted for Jim Goodwin if he got a win in his opening game as a player manager. I like all the guys at Brechin City, the board and everybody, and a lot of time for Darren Dodds, who's the manager up there.
So you're praising both of them,
but it's nice to see somebody get a start.
What about a draw? What about a draw?
No. We start to ask questions by Monday where it's going.
Jim Rovers
2-0 Albion Rovers against Livingston.
And I'll tell you, Nolito has just popped up with the equaliser for Manchester City. Suddenly, they've just cranked it up now. So they've got the equalising goal. What a game that is. And also, I think it's his first touch. That's the great thing. If you're a substitute, you come on and your first touch puts the ball in the back of the net. That's fantastic. Can you think of any player who's come on with his first touch and actually won a significant game? I can think of one.
I remember Joe Miller coming on and get one touch, the manager took him off again.
Yes, which is perfect.
Big Billy took him off. One touch, gave it to him, set up an attack, and then Big Billy took him off again.
Arsenal are down to 10 men. I can fully understand why Billy did that, having watched Joe in the midweek 5-a-side game. Can I just say something to you? You'll never believe this. Arsenal are down to 10 men. And I can tell you, there's been a sending off there, and Granit Xhaka, one of the new signings from the summer, has just been sent off, just seeing it there. So they're down to 10 men. They're 3-2 up. That is incredible.
15 minutes to go. It's 16 minutes. Could be a long 16 minutes for them.
It could indeed. Elsewhere, let's bring you the latest right across all the divisions, because quite simply, it's at that point where you're looking and you're saying to yourself, are my team ahead in the game? Well, Aberdeen, if you're an Aberdeen fan, you're comfortable. 3-0 up, Ross County down to 10 men. I don't think the points are going anywhere other than Pittodrie. Celtic are a goal up. Scott Sinclair scoring the goal against Motherwell. Griffiths is on the park. Will he get a goal to add to the already handsome total of 8 that he's scored this season? Elsewhere, Hearts have scored through Callum Patterson. Partick Thistle are 2-1 up in Hamilton Accies, and we're just waiting on St Johnstone Murdo against Kilmarnock. 0-0 at the moment.
Yes, we bet might. Well, I've not put any money on it. That's if St Johnstone can nick a goal, but this Kilmarnock is just hanging in there. A lot of people felt that was going to be an easy one for St Johnstone, but they're making it tough for them.
Yeah, Chris Martin has scored for Fulham down in the Championship. He's managed to break that 20-game run, and I think he's got to be number one choice for Scotland in the game at Wembley now, Macca. You've been bumping your gums about it.
I think today's game, Peter, and it's no. Well, I just think that these games are all about pace, and the boys, he's good at certain things, but I think he needs players round about him.
Yeah.
I think he needs players round about him to be a striker. You know, I think it would be good with Griffiths round about him.
Ruffy, we're waiting. Edinburgh City 0, Clyde 1. Sean Higgins has scored. Edinburgh City, the search for the victory goes on.
Spoil sport. You know, we're looking for that Edinburgh City win. We just want to see them, getting it.
Tough for them, isn't it?
It's really tough, and every week they look as if they're going to get that first win, and then it just slips away for them. But
I think if they get a win, they'll go on a run.
Yeah.
No.
No, but to be fair,
They're on a run.
The point is this: I think Craig Beattie scored their first ever goal in the top flight, but it would be amazing if they could celebrate their first win. It's almost like the Faroe Islands in midweek scoring their first goal away from home in about 12 years. I mean, they were going crazy, and that was only an equaliser, Murdo. But San Marino, I beg your pardon.
Yes.
It meant everything to them.
Yeah, without a doubt. But all the clubs know Edinburgh City coming in this season for the first time, and everybody's thinking, they'll be well organised, which they are, and a nice wee ground, and they don't realise how good the teams from the lower league are, Peter, and that they're all well organised and more experienced players that's played at that level for a longer time, and so many times they've got themselves a goal or back into the match, but they just can't hang on to it. And I think just now with Clyde there getting their first goal, I don't see Edinburgh City getting a win today.
Okay, you thinking about your best first touch of a substitute who's come on, Ruffy?
Not United 2-0 at St Mirren.
St Mirren 0, Dundee United 2. Maka, you had St Mirren and you've let the side down, Ruffy. It's just great that your phone, Tony Andrew, has added another goal. He's been great for Dundee United this season, Ruffy.
I was surprised. I don't know who alerted that he was available not to come up, but whoever it was, Dundee United moved very quickly, because I'm sure if there was other clubs that knew that Norwich were going to let him go out, I'm sure they went for them as well. So well done to Dundee United for getting them. Any time we've saw him at Hamilton, he's been there or thereabouts, 18-yard shots, goals. So he'll be a big player for them.
He could be the difference of them being successful this year. If he can continue to score goals and keep himself fit.
Yep, absolutely. They've got the goal. Okay, if the goals are flying in the final minutes, we're going to keep you right up to date with it. Frank McAvenny, Murdo McLeod and Alan Ruff with us here today. Gordon Smith just having a little break. Everybody needs that just to re-energise the batteries, Murdo. Is that fair? And then make a real surge in the winter months.
Can't miss the programme next week with Gordon back.
Yeah.
You'll have two computers sitting in front of him, all the stats on it.
I bet he's been at a meeting this week with Breaking Ball or Platini or something. They've been at some meeting and they've set up a new. He's going for this new league. He's going to punch me when he goes back.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think he'll wait till he comes back. Falkirk 2, Dunfermline 1. It's not done and dusted yet. There's a little twist in that one as well, Ruffy. A goal back for Alan Johnson's team.
Yeah, as I said at the beginning, Dunfermline had went off the rails a wee bit, but certainly, at 2-1, Falkirk now have a decision. Do they try and see out the game and let Dunfermline come at them, or do they try and get another one? But you would think that they'd be organised enough to see this one out.
I think it's always sweeter, Murdo, if you score against your old club. Farid El Alagui scoring the goal for Dunfermline against his old team, Falkirk.
It's a nice one, especially putting them under a wee bit of pressure now, 13 minutes from the end of the game, and then Dunfermline are a well organised side, and they get forward, Peter, and they score goals. That game's not finished yet.
Here's another
chance.
Can I just say something to you, Morris? Sorry for interrupting you, Murdo. Another one of our bookroom guests has scored today. Stenhouse Muir 0, Stranraer 4, and it's Christian Nadi, the former Hearts player, scored.
Oh, very good.
That's fantastic. There you are. That's the kind of in-depth punditry that you need. Johnston 0, Kilmarnock 1. What a huge goal that is. Just when we were banking on Murdo to give us a clean sweep of home wins, it's Killy who take the lead. So there you are. I'll give you one. The best substitution ever to come on, and with his first touch of the ball scored a goal. Lars Ricken.
Dortmund. Cup final, Champions League, chip to goalie from 40 yards. Brilliant.
Doesn't get any better than that, does it? You happy with that?
Aye, that's a great shout. Well done.
That's one of my. If you can come up with a better one than Lars Ricken, we'd love to hear from you at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy.
Not only the
first
name,
touch of the
not
ball.
only, not only the goal, but the name's different class as well. Lars
Ricken.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
the thing about that, Peter, it'll not get any better. To come on in the Champions League final.
Yeah,
to score the winner.
Hey, I'll tell you, Jayden Stockley gets his third goal of the season, Ruffy. He hasn't been, featuring as much as we thought he would, because he's a big, stocky striker. Stockley by name, stocky by nature. It gives them a different option from Rooney and the likes of Hayes.
Well, I think it's been a good buy, because what it's done is given Adam Rooney a wee kick up the backside, because he looked as if he had went off the boil a wee bit, but now another striker comes in of similar stature, he scores a couple of goals, and then Adam Rooney gets a chance to get back in and he starts playing well. So a good move for Derek, to bring somebody like that in there to give him a bit of competition.
Yep, Martin Smith gets his second goal of the campaign. He scored for Kilmarnock in that game, and suddenly St Johnstone, I just think they've been absolutely amazing. 3 wins in the last 5 games. Of course, they won that match at Ross County by 2-0, but suddenly today, at home, this could be a home defeat against Kilmarnock, and a Kilmarnock side that Lee Clark mentioned, Murdo, that he's brought in 17 players, and he's looking for new player number 18. He thinks he needs to add to it again.
It's a strange one, the amount of players he's managed to bring in, and then he's put them together as a team, Peter. And I know we sat here at the start of the season and we're talking about them, just saying this could be the side that would really struggle. But I think that they're playing good football. There's a lot of technical, good, smaller players, great on the ball, and the fans are beginning to watch and enjoying them, watch the way they play football.
I'll tell you one thing that's going to become evident over the weekend, and it's a worrying situation, and I'm not for a minute suggesting anybody will be calling for his head, Ruffy, but suddenly Paul Hartley will find his Dundee side bottom of the table if the results stay the same as they are at the moment.
Yeah, and this is when you've got to have a good relationship with the owners of the club. Paul certainly seemed to have that when he was going out there looking for players. They seemed to be buying into everything that he wanted to do, but as we all know, and we touched on it earlier, it's a results-driven business, and it's been a long time since Dundee have been sitting bottom of the league. Over the last 2 or 3 seasons they've been really quite successful. So Paul will be hoping there's not any kind of reaction for the powers that be at Dundee.
Yep, I don't think there will be a reaction. What I think the Dundee fans will be well aware of, they won't be critical of the manager for this, Macca. They'll be critical of the club for allowing 2 goal scorers to leave, and there hasn't really been a replacement. The manager may well be open to criticism because Fasil El Baktui hasn't quite set the heather on fire yet.
Well, when you've got two people that for years you've relied on. sorry, but
Yeah, you're okay, Ruffy? What's happening to you?
What's every week? I'm now feeling the way Alan Archibald feels every week. Just inability to see out a game. That's 7 minutes to go, and I'm sure if Alan was to
wait a minute, you've actually just not grasped this. You've actually just went, and then everybody's going, "What's up with Ruffy?" You've gone every week. What, Ruffy? This is a programme where we tell them information.
Well, Hamilton Accies have just scored.
Thank you.
Partick Thistle, and I'm sure if Alan Archibald was to sit down and count the points up that Partick Thistle have lost in the last 10 minutes of a game, he must have sleepless nights.
No, finished.
No, I know it's not.
But come half time, if we don't, first of all, if we don't get a second one, we're in trouble. If we don't get a third one, I'm thinking it's hard to get 3 when you
cannot see out games. Inability to see out games.
You've got to have a bit of belief in yourself as well. You don't give them any belief, so that what chance have the players got if their top supporters doesn't believe in them?
Well, listen, Eamon Brophy has scored for Hamilton Accies. I'll try and tell you the things that Ruffy doesn't tell you, because what you get in this programme is you get this mad movement from Ruffy with no information. But Eamon Brophy has equalised for Hamilton Accies. Nasir Chadley has scored for West Brom against Tottenham. Hey, that could be a shocker. You can't go and defeat Manchester City one week and think you're in for the title, and then eventually
you can't do it. That's what Jenkins made changes. And we all know West Brom, it's a hard place to go and play, Peter. You've got to win the battle before you can get your good players on the ball. I think think it's too easy there, and they've been up there and they've not sort of a...
Well, listen, Maka, I'm looking at the Hamilton goal. Brophy is just brilliant. He just beats the defence and then drills the ball home for the equaliser. It's a great shot. The replay here, even in slow motion, is fantastic. You'd be happy with that
I'll
yourself.
be happy with it. I've got nothing but admiration for Hamilton. I just, as I said earlier, year in, year out, they keep positioning and fighting, and I think it's great.
It'll be interesting how Hamilton play the last few minutes, because they've been losing late goals, so they'll be thinking that they'll take a point, they'll accept a point just now, but do they go and sit in a wee bit and allow Partick Thistle to come on top of them, or are they going to have a real go at Thistle and just try and get all 3 points?
Put them under pressure. Well, Bournemouth will not be worried about it. They're 5-1 up. Just as well he signed that contract, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike Phelan not going according to plan today. And I tell you, Celtic have brought on their final substitution of the day. James Forrest has come off and Yaya Touré's gone on. Celtic only leading by that Scott Sinclair. Oh, Kolo Touré, Yaya Touré. If he'd gone on, everybody thought, where did they get the money? But Kolo Touré, I beg your pardon. Only that Scott Sinclair goal is the difference between the two sides there. And the other thing I was going to say to you, Ruffy, is Montrose 0, Elgin City 5. That is an absolute hammering there for Montrose. Elgin City, as you would expect, one of the teams that's going to be in the top end.
Yeah, that was my selection at the beginning of the season. I don't mind saying that. I was reading that they tapped into a few of the senior teams up there, like St Johnstone and Dundee United, for some of the younger players, so they're getting the benefit of that.
Yeah,
I think they're down to 9 men, Montrose.
Yeah.
That's help. But that's what Ruffy says that every week.
He does. If Ruffy reads something like that, he just holds on to it.
He's talking about.
Absolutely. There's no tapping. It's just a relationship, friendship.
Do you think the other one that we're talking about, Celtic, do you think they could be their eyes now firmly set on midweek?
Yeah, that's a penalty. Penalty for Celtic, Murdo, in this game. So that really, right at the death in the last couple of minutes, that could settle it. I would imagine Dembele's going to be the man to finally chance to get his 13th goal of the season. Because he's the penalty kick taker, Maka.
Yeah, well,
even though he's missed one this season already.
That's what happens when Griffiths passed it to Sinclair. He's never get it back after that today. Remember, he gave him it for his 6th goal in a row. So good harmony with the club, but Dembele will score. I don't think he'll be like Man City. I'll tip him to score.
You're going to tip him to score. There you are. Maka really putting his neck on the line on this programme now. We're getting close to the full-time scores across the country. So if you've got a coupon on, or indeed you just want to find out how the teams are faring around your favourite team, then stick with us here and we'll keep you up to date whether that goal goes in for Celtic in that match from the penalty spot. It's been tight today. I think Mark McGee's got the team better organised today, Murdo, to make them difficult to break down.
Well, losing 12 goals in his last 2 visits to Celtic Park, it's always going to be a tough one. I think a few of the players were not looking forward to coming back after the break as well, Peter, but to turn up today, and even if it finishes 2-0, that's an awful lot better than the past results. 7 the last time, it's just unacceptable.
Yep. 2-0. Dembele scores his 13th of the season, and he sent the keeper the wrong way as well, and he just walks away with that nonchalant hand in there as if it's the norm from who misses penalty kicks anyway, Roppy. It's an easy.
Well, that's what you want. You want your striker going into a game with confidence. He'll go into that game believing that he can score and midweek, and that could be a good thing for them.
OK, Dembele gets the goal, an important one, and Celtic have Borussia Mönchengladbach. Who would be the ideal guest to join us at Celtic Park for the build-up on Peter and Ruffy's football show on Wednesday? Somebody, Bertie votes is a good shout, Murdo, but the difference between what he was demanding and what you were demanding was considerably different, which is why you're going to be with us.
He's played the most of games for Gladbach.
Yeah, and I hate to be a really annoying person, but if you can tell me who scored Borussia Mönchengladbach's goal in the European Cup final against Liverpool in 1977, I will pay homage to you right now because your football knowledge is unchallenged.
Is it Hinkes? No.
I was
You
going
think
to
it's a great shout, Murdo, but no.
I'm glad
And it's
I
not
never said
Gunter
that.
Metzer, so don't bother going for that either.
Gunter.
No, he was European Footballer of the Year.
Simmerson.
Gunter.
What about that
there
from
you are.
Ruffy?
Well done, Ruffy.
Ruffy.
Google's a wonderful thing.
Do you think I could work on that quick?
He's lucky he can work his phone in an hour and a half, never mind 30 seconds. That is a fantastic shout. Alan Simonson.
Simonson, yeah.
Wonderful.
He's,
What a good player he was.
He was a fan. What a player he was, you know.
No, what a good player he was.
Jonathan Watson.
6-1 Bournemouth.
6-1 to Bournemouth. That is a hammering. How can you lose when they played so well over the last few weeks, Hull City?
I feel for the manager. He's just signed a new contract. He's getting absolutely hammered.
I have to say, Bournemouth are my favourite wee team
Yeah,
in
why?
England. I just like the manager, I like the stadium, I like the supporters. What is it, maximum 12,000 or something like that? I just like they just grasp at it's a club
It's not
team.
Max, it's not that, is
You
it?
know, I just feel
The strange thing is,
1-1
sometimes
Spurs.
Spurs have got the equaliser. They're a good team. They're my tip for top 4 this season to upset the Apple Cup.
Yes.
No,
You know?
I don't see them this
You
year,
don't see
Peter.
it?
No, sorry.
Okay, what's your top 4, Murdo?
Top 4 would be Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United.
Okay, an interesting top 4.
I'm going with all the big boys because I think they've spent so much money. They're all under pressure, players and managers alike. They've got to get there.
Dele Alli scored that goal, Micah.
I'm
Top
going
four?
with Man United to win it. I think Man United might win it. Man City, Arsenal and Liverpool.
Arsenal
I'm going
and
to leave
Liverpool.
Chelsea out.
What, you're going to leave Chelsea out of the mix?
Top 4.
Okay, interesting. Ruffy?
I'm going to go the 4 big ones, the same as Murdo. I
Yeah.
think they'll just separate themselves. Oh, okay.
2-0 Hearts.
Okay, I'll leave.
I can tell you it's 2-0 to Hearts, and again my tip to finish second in the Premiership here in Scotland are 2-0 up. Johnson has scored the goal, and Robbie Nielsen's side will take all 3 points, and Dundee will be at the bottom of the table. Mark Durnan's been sent off for Dundee United. It's his second yellow. I don't think, could that have an impact? Maybe not, but nevertheless, Hearts, we mentioned it at the start of the programme, they've scored the 2 goals required, they've got the 3 points, Macca. They are going to be there or thereabouts with Aberdeen and Rangers.
You looked at me at the start when we were talking a couple of weeks ago. I thought Hearts and Aberdeen are going to fight for second. I think Rangers will be fourth.
Yeah.
You know, and you looked
I think
at me
we
as if
looked
I
at you.
was stupid.
I think no, I didn't look at you as if you're stupid. How you could have determined that 1 week to the next, I'll never know.
I just think if Rangers get in the top 4, it'll be a good season for them.
Well, so do I.
The
But
supporters will not think that, but I think they'll be thereabouts. But I think Hearts and Aberdeen will just kick away come over the new year.
Livingston have pulled a goal back in that match with Albion Rovers. Liam Buchanan scoring from the penalty spot. I would suggest to you, Ruffy, Celtic, Hearts, Aberdeen, Rangers. Are you going to argue with that?
Yeah, I'm going to go Celtic, Hearts, Rangers, Aberdeen.
That could be. I could swivel with that easily. But I think Celtic and Hearts. And I've said that since the start of the season.
I thought you said Rangers were going to be second.
No, I said Hearts would be second. It was Ruffy. It was your sidekick. And strangely enough, when you talk about team selection and formation, Murdo, I don't think it's been a good formation choice. Usually I have McAvenny here away from Ruffy because it's good to split them up with someone. How can I be fair here without being unkind? It's usually good to put an intelligent person in the middle to keep them apart. Because they have their own conversation between each other. And I tell you, Aberdeen against Ross County's finished 4-0. It's a good win for Derek McInnes' side, Murdo.
Yeah, very good. Obviously it helped with Ross County getting a player sent off, but scored early on. But Aberdeen, I think they'll be a big challenge. Not a challenge to Celtic, but I think they'll be the strongest of the rest in the league, because I just think they've been there and done it over the last couple of years. Hearts, I think they'll close the gap in Aberdeen this year, but I don't think they'll be above Aberdeen. I think Hearts will be third, maybe Rangers fourth.
Yeah, you said they were going to be second at the start of the programme.
I think it's
No, I don't think I said
I think it's
no,
gonna be a
you
good
said
fight.
it.
Yeah, and you said, I think that's a good shout, Peter. I think they will finish second.
No, just because you say it every week, I thought I'd agree with you just to keep you happy.
See, just a little bit. Did you see it? Well, that's it.
No, what Ruffy, the reason why Ruffy is laughing and
We're having a
Murdo,
conversation, isn't there? We're having a conversation.
I wasn't even speaking, he was just talking.
we're having a conversation about the results that are coming in, Macca, but the one thing that they haven't realised, and Ruffy realises every week, is even if we're talking about something, you can still have a conversation on your own with nobody. It's magnificent. I don't know how you manage it. You just chatter away to yourself.
Watch me, don't watch you two.
Yes. Listen, you may well have a point, Macca. You may well have a point. Celtic 2, Motherwell 0, Macca. It's finished. Sinclair scored, Dembele scored. It's a nice build-up for Brendan Rodgers ahead of that game against Borussia Mönchengladbach.
Well, there's 3 games. We said those 3 games, and let's be honest, this is not one of the big games that you wanted before. You wanted a nice, easy game, don't you? So Motherwell, no disrespect to Motherwell and Matt McGee, but you'd expect Celtic to score a lot more. So obviously their focus now is on midweek game against Borussia Mönchengladbach. So it's a strange one to go into a game, full house.
Aye.
And then after that they've got the semi-final. Peter, there's a couple of good big games coming up, and it's a couple of really good games, and people that don't know how to work the iPads and all that, it's great.
Yeah, what do you make of? Just concentrate on the programme in hand, Ruffy. It'll keep us all on track. Celtic have got the win. Hearts have got the win. Aberdeen have got the win.
Yeah, and I think, as I spoke about, they 4 teams will draw away. I think they will win more games than the others. I think the obvious will be in the top 6. It's a disappointing one for St Johnstone today. Usually quite confident that they would have taken something at home, but certainly I think it's looking at Dundee, Partick Thistle, Hamilton, Kilmarnock are going to be the 4 teams down the bottom.
Yeah, good win for Queen's Park against East Fife by 1-0. Falkirk held on against Dunfermline by 2-1. And I think the one team that we haven't mentioned throughout the afternoon, it's finished Wraith 0, Hibernian 0. Ruffy, I think that's another chance squandered by Neil Lennon's side.
Yeah, I think it's a discipline. I think Neil Lennon will be looking at his players and saying, look guys, if we can't finish a game with 11 men, we're going to make it a right uphill task. Particularly away from home, they're down to 10 men against Queen of the South, 10 men again today, and he'll just be wanting them to keep 11 on the park, but they haven't been scoring the same amount of goals that they have been earlier on. They've been beating teams convincingly, and for me the main reason is the wee boy Cummins, who's just went off the boil a wee bit.
Yep, and Hibernian unable to take advantage of the scoreline that came in. I think was the shock of the championship, and that was certainly Queen of the South losing by 5-0 at home against Morton. So Rangers managed to win last night. Great goal from Kenny Miller to seal it up at the Tulloch Stadium against Inverness Caledonian Thistle. Today it was all about the other top sides, Celtic, Aberdeen and Hearts. Could they get maximum points? The answer is an emphatic yes. We'll discuss that. We'll discuss Dundee dropping to the bottom of the table, and we'll look at all the full-time scores for you next. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. Wins for Celtic, Aberdeen, Hearts and Rangers over the last 24 hours. At the bottom end of the Premiership in Scotland, Dundee hit the bottom for the first time that I can recall in many a season here since they returned back to the top flight. Let's look at the full times in the Premiership first of all. Inverness 0, Rangers 1 was the Friday night match. Aberdeen 4, Ross County 0, Celtic 2, Motherwell 0, Hearts 2, Dundee 0, Partick Thistle 2, Hamilton 2, and St Johnstone 0, Kilmarnock 1. So goals there for Celtic from Scott Sinclair and Musa Dembele, and of course Aberdeen with that big win. Ross County were reduced to 10 men in that match at Pittodrie. Into the Championship, Hibs able to go back to the top of the table, albeit in goal difference. There was a real chance today because there's one scoreline that just stands out from so many others there. It was in Dumfries, where Queen of the South 0, Morton 5. Elsewhere, Dumbarton 0, Ayr United 3, Falkirk 2, Dunfermline 1, Wraith Rovers 0, Hibernian 0, and St Mirren 0, Dundee United 2. So not a great start for Jack Ross in his first game in charge there at home to Dundee United. Into League One, and it's Brechin 0, Alloa 1, Livingston 1, Albion Rovers 2, Queen's Park 1, East Fife 0, Stenhousemuir 0, Stranraer 5. Airdrieonians against Peterhead kicks off at 5:15 within the next 15 minutes, but it's a winning start as a player manager for Jim Goodwin at Alloa. Into League 2. For the full-time scores are Broth 2, Forfar 0, Forfar down to 10 men in that match, Cowdenbeath 2, Annan Athletic 2, Edinburgh City 0, Clyde 1, Montrose 0, Elgin City 5, and Stirling Albion 0, Berwick Rangers 0. From all four divisions in Scotland, we turn our attentions to the Premier League in England. There was an early kick-off today at Stamford Bridge, and it finished Chelsea 3, Leicester City 0. The other matches, 3 o'clock kickoffs. Everton, in fact, I'll need to go back to that because that's the wrong graphic on that there. I'm so glad that I was totally and utterly switched on. Chelsea 3, Leicester 0, Arsenal 3, Swansea 2. Arsenal had a man sent off. Bournemouth 6, Hull City 1. Not a great start for Mike Phelan in his first game in charge with a new contract. Manchester City 1, Everton 1, so a share of the spoils between Ronald Koeman and Pep Guardiola, former teammates at Barcelona. Stoke City 2, Sunderland 0, more worries for David Moyes. And West Brom 1, Tottenham 1, Dele Alli getting the equalising goal at the Hawthorns. Crystal Palace against West Ham is the evening kick-off at 5:30. So that's the full times. Give us your reaction to your team's score. We'll discuss that on Twitter, on Facebook. Read out your messages and get more from Ruffy, Macca and Murdo MacLeod. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. In the end, it was a good win for Celtic ahead of that Champions League fixture in midweek against Borussia Mönchengladbach, and the German side couldn't get the 3 points they were looking for today, Murdo.
No, they finished up all square with Hamburg, drawing nothing each there, not scoring any goals, so that's good for Celtic that they're not scoring goals just before this game.
Yep, and in the other matches involving Celtic's group, Barcelona 4-0, a good win for them against Deportivo La Coruña, and Manchester City couldn't get the win they craved against Everton. It finished 1-1 in that match between Pep Guardiola's side and Ronald Koeman. Our reporter Andrew McLean was out and about today. He was at St Mirren against Dundee United for us, and here's how he saw the match unfold over 90 minutes.
St Mirren 0, Dundee United 2, the full-time score here. The away side ruining the Jack Ross welcome party at St Mirren Park. The goal scoring was opened by Scott Fraser, a lovely finish low to the goalkeeper's right-hand side after Tony Andrew flicked the ball through to him. It was Andrew who doubled the lead. A lovely chip from the edge of the box after a defensive mix-up let Simon Murray through. His shot was saved by Langfield, but Andrew, in great form, scored once again for Dundee United. Here at St Mirren Park, it's St Mirren 0, Dundee United 2.
Good win for Dundee United because, quite simply, Ray McKinnon is in there with high expectations. Maybe not has the squad that he would like, but suddenly, from a shaky start, they're now moving in the right direction.
And moving well, you would expect them to do that. And McKinnon's a decent manager, Peter, so he's going. It took his time to get them going, but they're now showing the potential that everyone thinks they've got. I just thought it would be the Jack Ross, factor today. They might get a little result, but Dundee United stepped up to the mark, and obviously Jack will look at that now. And this is his first game. He'll look at that, and he'll know the task that lies ahead of him, because I know Alex Ray was a big task for him, and unless he couldn't bring in players, so unless Jack gets some players in, maybe some loanees, I don't know, because they've not got any money. It's going to be a long, hard season for St Mirren.
Yeah, I think the one thing that seemed to go against Alec Ray, Ruffy, is when you have a change of a board and a change of ownership, there's a change of mindset into what they see as the manager that they want. They want to bring in their own guy.
Yeah, you're right, that's what happened. There's no doubt about that. But when Alec initially went in there, he did put them on the up. He started moving them up the table. And I think we all sat here thinking that this is a year that St Mirren are going to get in another division. But obviously Alec got a wee bit of stability there. But unfortunately the new owners obviously didn't like the way the start of the season had went. They would obviously get higher expectations, maybe trying to push into the playoff position, but that was never going to happen with the players that he had at his disposal. There was no budget at all to bring other people in. He was wheeling and dealing, and it just remains to be seen what the new manager is given to get them out of where they are.
Okay, in the Premiership today, the story of the afternoon, certainly one that Johnny Hayes is still happy that he's walking about after a nasty challenge resulted in Ross County's Tim Chow being sent off. Aberdeen got the win. Celtic got the win over Motherwell. Hearts had a big win over Dundee by 2-0, getting 100%, 3 points there. We'll discuss Dundee's predicament after the break. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. The main headlines across Scotland in the Premiership is Celtic with a good win against Motherwell ahead of that match against Borussia Mönchengladbach in midweek. As far as the bottom end of the table, well, Hearts had a 2-0 win at home at Tynecastle against Dundee. Dundee are bottom of the table. It's been a long time, Murdo, that I can recall since they returned to the top flight. Dundee find themselves bottom, and Paul Hartley now has a real test of his managerial credentials.
Yeah, he's got to use all his experience, Peter, but strange seeing Dundee at the bottom of the table. I think the last time was when they just came up, but over the last few weeks I've been watching them, and defensively they look solid, but they're not scoring goals. And that's their reward for selling their two best players.
And over and above that, Mac, is something that I think is significant, you know, when you talk to their management team, is they've changed their ethos this season, because Gary Harkins, they let him go. I'm not for a minute suggesting that Gary Harkins would have made a monumental difference to Dundee, but what they decided to opt for was legs. In the middle of the park. Now they brought in O'Hara from Kilmarnock. He scored goals. Paul Hartley sees him as a midfielder. They've got Nicky Lowe in there. They don't have a lot of creativity, and they've obviously lost two big goal scorers, as Murdo alluded to.
One thing Harkins can do, he can control. He's good on the ball, Peter. He can see things, you know, and it's all right being an athlete and being able to run about. That's not maybe what Dundee need at the moment. They need somebody, because it's all gets a bit hectic, and you need someone that can say, give us a ball, I'll take it, and bring a bit of calmness to the midfield. Sometimes the running about is not what you need. If you've not got anyone like Harkins that can find you with their runs, then running about in midfield is not what you need. I'm just surprised, and I'm gutted for Hartley, because he's got a chance of becoming a really good manager, but when you're letting players like Harkins and Alboy go that's scoring goals and not replacing, you know, you're just banging your head against a brick wall, aren't you, really? Yeah, sometimes you learn more in defeat about yourself as a manager and your team, Ruffy. Many a person has mentioned that to us over the years.
Yeah, you do, but you don't like to see somebody like that who we know very, very well, you know, who works very hard at the game. And the only thing you will be hoping is that the people who made the decision to sell the two best players are going to hold their hands up and say, look, Paul, we've cut you short, you know, we know where you are, we're going to give you a wee bit of slack. We made the decision to sell them. And that's what you're hoping. You know, that doesn't often happen all the time. You know, if you get a board of directors there who just look at where they are and what they're going to lose, doesn't matter whether they've made the decision or not, you're the one that's going to suffer. So the sooner he gets a couple of wins, the better. Yeah, it was bad enough, Peter, just losing one of your main strikers, but to lose both of them and then not get an awful lot of money back in for them, and not being able to replace it at the same quality. And I don't think a lot of people realise when your kind of star player goes, they all think it's easy just for someone else to come, step in and just take over. It doesn't happen like that now. But that's what the directors would have probably hoped. You know, they probably have seen Paul's brought these guys out of lower divisions. He's brought other guys, so he said, well, we'll take a chance because he's got a good eye for a player, so we'll just sell these two and Paul will go out and get us another two. But as you've just said there, that doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah, and a word for Hearts, Murdo, because it's yet another win. And again, good goal for Callum Patterson to get after his international double-header. Well, obviously coming back, because usually, you know, we spoke about it earlier on, Peter, that coming back from the international break, the players who weren't away, they're looking at this guy and saying, oh great, he's played for his country during the week, and then for him to produce a good performance and score a goal. But Hearts just very strong again. You know, they're hard to beat. Dundee's found it difficult to break them down. I think they had a couple of chances. I think they hit the woodwork at one point, but his Hearts are just too strong now, and that's the way Hearts are going to be, Peter. They're just going to be a hard side to break down, and they can nick goals at the other end. Yep, Bjorn Johnson getting the other goal. I think it would be remiss of us not to mention Macca Scott Boyd's winner for Kilmarnock. That ends that 6-game winless run, and a welcome one for Lee Clark. Suddenly they're starting to look up the table again. Well, they are, Peter, but he's brought a lot of players in, and I think too many players to try and get them blending together. And I'm a great believer at that level. Good players don't need time; they can settle into a team. But all 17 of them.
No, I'm saying good players can, but when you get 17, they're not all great players, Peter. So it takes a while for him to settle in, and for him to get him to play the way he wants him to play. It might take a bit of time, but Clark he's a good manager. He's been about the game for a long time now, and he's been manager at a few clubs down south, and that is not everyone's cup of tea. He's got a result against St Johnstone, which I didn't think would have came today. I thought St Johnstone would have won that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. That's all three teams, I think, Inverness, Ross County and Kilmarnock and Motherwell. In fact, 4 teams on 9 points. Just looking at Lee Clark, sometimes are we guilty in the media of not cutting managers who don't come from Scotland as much slack as we would normally do? He's been under a fair bit of pressure, Lee Clark.
Yeah, I think we are probably, because the first time we're going to hit him was, how much do you know about our game? Do you know the teams that you're going to be playing against? And then he's got to prove everybody. He's got to prove to everybody that he can adapt to, the style of player that he's going to bring into our league. But I think it's just going to be an inconsistent year for Kilmarnock. I don't think the supporters will know any given week what's going to happen. Like today's a perfect example. But if it means it's happening 1-0 in some of the games, then he won't have any problem being down the bottom with the strugglers.
Yeah, and the last one on the Premiership for the moment before we look at the other leagues, Ruffy, Partick Thistle, even at 2-1, you just couldn't see the team holding on. In fact, there's always that fear that with a 2-1 advantage you think they could still lose it.
Yeah, I'm sure that if you could have a vision of Alan Archibald, he'd be standing at that dugout waiting on it happening, because it's happened far too often, and I'm sure he'll be trying to drill it into his players' organisation. And sometimes when you're like that, and you're winning 2-1 and there's 7 minutes to go, all you need is a bit of experience, to say, let's defend properly here.
If you're like that, and supporters are like that, and the managers like that, it's going to rub off in the players.
Yeah, well, that's why you need
you've got to be positive.
But you need a couple of experienced players to say, right, let them come at us. Let's be solid. Let's everybody get behind the ball. Let's be hard to beat. There's only 7 minutes to go. Surely they'll be able to see out the game. But if Peter's telling us the wee boy's goal was a stunning goal, there's nothing you can do about that. But if it's something that somebody could have maybe shut down somebody a wee bit earlier, maybe kept possession of the ball, that's the galling thing. That he'll go home tonight and sit in the house and be racking through his brains like that's another 2 points. And in this league, at the end of the year, 2 points is massive, absolutely massive when you're down there.
When you get Ross Forbes, Jamie McDonagh and Gary Oliver giving Morton a 3-goal advantage at half time, people start to sit up and take notice and look and say, well, what's happened to the league leaders? It all caved in for them, and in the end Morton 5-0 away from home against the league leaders.
Yeah, that was astonishing. That's possibly the result of the day, Peter.
I think so.
And I think I'd love to know what happened to Queen of the South, because normally you're sitting top of the table, you've got Hibs, and possibly they would even know the score. The Hibs were struggling, they were down to 10 men, and then you're looking at your own side and getting beaten 5-0 at home by Morton.
I think you're right. It's the result of the day, I think. But I really don't care about Queen of the South. I think you've got to give congratulations to Morton.
Yeah.
We don't know what happened to Queen of the South, but I think credit to Morton, and Jim Duffy's got him set up, and that'll do him the world a good, Peter.
Yeah, Marvin Bartley received a red card for Hibernian, and that was, in the first half, 38 minutes gone in that match. Suddenly, Hibs are up against it on a day when, albeit they're back at the top of the table on goal difference, Ruffy, but they had a real chance to just get the points difference between themselves and Queen of the South. And I think it's another opportunity squandered.
Yeah, but they're no different for anybody else. I mean, last year it was Rangers were the front runners. Now Hibs have been made the front runner, and that is a different pressure that certain players at that Hibs side have probably never been through before. Now they're going into every game where everybody's saying, you're going to win this, and when they're not winning it, players start to panic, and obviously I don't know if it was a straight red card or a 2 yellows or whatever, but certainly the pressure is on Hibs, and that's why I'm saying, I don't think they've got enough players with that experience to run away with this league. I think they eventually will win it, but I just think there'll be more results like this unless they dip into the piggy bank in January and buy another couple of players, because I think when you rely on a striker like the wee boy Cummins, you're relying on him too much. I mean, the wee boy Keatons will score goals, but there's something in his makeup that managers don't think that he's a starter in scoring goals. So unless they go out and buy, which I think they'll have to, because I don't think they can afford not to get promoted this year.
Yep, one good signing for Falkirk, and Peter Houston's got a good eye for a player, is Miles Hippolyte. He popped up with what proved to be the decisive goal. Falkirk were 2-0 up in Dunfermline before they were pegged back, Murdo, but Falkirk suddenly just tucked in there in third place.
Yeah.
And I think Peter, after a shaky start, will be more than happy with the performance today, despite Farid El Alagoui getting one back for the Pars.
Yeah, 3 points is everything for them, even if the opposition get a late goal, Peter, and put them under a wee bit of pressure towards the end. But I think Falkirk, they'll be sitting up there between now and the end of the season. They'll be in the top 4, they'll be in playoff position, and they'll take points off Dundee United, they'll take points off Hibs, they'll take points off Queen of the South. They're good enough to go and win it, and it's up to themselves. Maybe Alan touched on there about come the January window, maybe they'll look at to bring in a couple of better quality of player to come in, and that might just be the difference of them staying in the Championship and getting to the Premiership.
I think that's the 3 teams: Falkirk, Hibernian and Dundee United. That's the 3 for me that's going to be going to be fighting it out. I don't think Queen of South will be come the end of the season. I don't think they'll be there. I think the 3 clubs will be what Falkirk's used to. They were there last season right to the end.
Right to the end, aye.
So it'll be interesting.
In League One, when you get a 5-0 scoreline, especially from the away teams, Stranraer deserve tremendous credit for a 5-0 win at Stenhousemuir. But the result that sticks out for me, Ruffy, is Livingston 1 at Albion Rovers 2.
Yeah, well, Albion Rovers was the team. Everybody was saying them and Alloa were the 2 that were just going to draw away. But as we've noticed in this division, there's no consistency whatsoever. And Albion Rovers have been on a wee run. They've had a good result. They got a good result against Airdrie. And they've went over there to Livingston, and 2-1 is a super result for them, and that just pushes them up into the challenge.
Yep, Elgin and Clyde were able to capitalise on Forfar's misfortune today, and it's getting ever so tight at the top there. Forfar still have a 3-point advantage over Elgin and a further point advantage over Barry Ferguson's Clyde in League 2 after the results today. Of course, Arbroath were able to come away with all 3 points in that match against Forfar. You can give us your thoughts at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. You may well want to give us your thoughts on what has been a turbulent week for Gordon Strachan and Scotland. Of course, many were looking for the manager to be replaced. The SFA had no intention of sacking him. He's 3 games into his 2nd contract. This one, the remit is quite simply for Scotland to get to the World Cup finals in Russia. Are they going to make it? At Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. Joey Barton in the news as ever. I don't think there's anything new in any revelations whatsoever about his predicament this week. He won't return to the club, and I think it's a standoff at the moment until Rangers eventually wash their hands of their troubled midfielder. He hasn't quite set the heather on fire. Certainly his arguments with the player and manager at Rangers, and over and above that, the notice of complaint from the SFA over those betting allegations is something he's also going to have to answer for, and you can give us your views on that. Celtic with a confidence boosting win ahead of the match against Borussia Mönchengladbach. Lee Griffiths came on in the second half, and I think it's more down to Murdo, the fact that Moussa Dembele just keeps on scoring, that not too many people are making loud noises about Griffiths coming off the bench.
Well, it's always the same, Peter, if you've got someone doing the job of your hero from last season. Scoring 40 goals was fantastic, and when he first came in there, they were trying to play them both together, and a lot of people were thinking, well, they're not a great partnership, but you need to give them time. And then Griffiths was out of the team, and then Dembele on his own, and then he started scoring goals for fun. And to score so many goals, and important goals as well, he's comfortable, he's got a great all-round game. And then Griffiths is sitting on the bench, and all the Celtic fans are thinking, we must be some team here if we can have Griffiths on the bench and Dembele still scoring the goals, because come the end of the season, Dembele will have a great number of goals, whether he's up at 35, whatever he is. Griffiths will be up high 20s if he's not playing week in, week out. And then Sinclair, he'll be up there with 20 odds as well.
It's a great giving for players to get that.
No, we were talking about Dundee losing their two main strikers. Celtic's brought in two guys, one of them being a main striker and one a wider player, wide in the side in Sinclair, and they can still score goals, Peter. So when you've got players like that, then you know you can win so many games.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing I was going to mention to you is I think it's a player that I have a lot of time for, great admiration for him, is Kenny Miller. 100 goals for Rangers, a peach of a goal last night. I think we've got to mention him at a time when Kenny Miller scored at Wembley to say farewell to his international career. Some people question whether he could even feature for Rangers this season, but he just keeps stepping up. He's a tremendous example to younger players, Ruffy.
Yeah, it's fantastic. He's the kind of guy you want walking about the dressing room, and you just have to look at his build, the way he's looked after himself, and he can score goals, and he's got still got a wee bit of pace about him. He can still drag people about, and that goal he scored last night was superb. So yeah, you can see why the Rangers gave him. I think it was a year they gave him. You can see why, because he's still got something to offer. He's got more to offer than some of the players that the manager's brought in.
He's a great advert to the game, and he's doing everything right. So you've got to give him credit for that. Going in there and everyone's shouting about goal scorers at Rangers, and he just plods away, Peter, and gets on with his job.
Goal for Peterhead.
Yep, okay. Just brilliant the way that just calmly Murdo suggested there that Peterhead had gone ahead, but that goal's not actually going to stand. Murdo, it's been chalked off. Just looking at the replay there, they thought they'd gone ahead there. Well, I can't quite see the replay at the moment because of the screen and the fact the battery's died, but nevertheless. It's still 0-0. Adrian's against Peterhead, and I just, and I'm not going to suggest for a minute that I hope Peterhead win, but sooner or later they're going to have to start producing.
What is the thing with Adrian? Is it Gordon Dale moved in there? Is he in a managerial job or what?
No, I think he gets tipped for the job.
Has he not got it?
I don't think he's got it yet.
I thought he got it. I thought he'd got it, and he was.
Going to work 5 days. I think there was a suggestion that he may well do the Monday to Friday. Gordon DL has got a number of clubs that he's worked for, great experience. I think he's got a good CV. He would be a welcome addition to any coaching staff, Ruffy.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think he knows the owner quite well, and obviously he'll go in there Monday to Friday and help with the manager that's there.
I don't think it was managerial, Ruffy.
No, it's coaching.
I don't think it was coaching. I thought it was director of football or something. He was going in for.
Can I ask one question though? Tell me a football club in the world that you'd work Monday to Friday.
Oh no!
No, but honestly, but the whole time, the part-time clubs, you'd still be working match day. You're part of a football club.
As an individual,
you've got to sign the club and say, sign here, and they go, I can only do 5 days.
No, you're right. As an individual, you'd want to see the work that you put in Monday, Friday. You'd want to see the end. You'd want to see the end product, and I think maybe eventually it will do.
I don't think it's coaching.
No, I think he'll be coaching.
Something to do with bringing in players and.
All will become apparent in the next week or so. I say that, but the Joey Barton situation has been going on forever and a day. I cannot believe how long this saga has been going on. Some people are saying, there should be, clarification on it, that the fans need to know. I don't think anybody will get clarification on this until the legal aspect of it follows its course, Ruffy, because quite simply you have two parties here sitting it out, waiting to see what the technicalities will be before someone either gets paid off or sacked.
Well, again, we have to go back to the very, very beginning, and none of us were privy to what was said in that dressing room, and I think that's the most important thing. We all know that you can have a bit of banter with your players or have a bit of a row, but it depends what he has said to the manager, and it depends what the reaction that the manager has made his mind up. I'm sorry, it has to look like I don't want him back here. you know, or he would have said,
apparently
come
said
back.
Something, and
it can't be apparently. You can't do apparently. You can't do apparently because you have to know exactly what he said.
Of course, that'll come out. But for what I hear, it wasn't something that he says wrong. It was doing it in front of the boys.
Yes.
You cannot say anything to the manager and demean him in front of the players. You just can't do it.
Yeah.
It's just an unwritten law. Whether you're right or wrong, there's only one winner.
And you have to think, if the manager was wanting him back, he'd be back now.
Well, that's,
you know, that's the assumption you have to come to.
Well,
you know,
I think we've already reached that assumption maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago.
And I think the supporters have to as well. The supporters, and that result last night will help the situation, because when they do come to decide to let him go, then the fans will buy into it.
Yeah,
because they're winning games without him.
The other thing about it is, you know, Mark Robertson consciously may well have talked up Andy Halliday. He wasn't picking him when Joey Barton was there and towing the party line, Murdo.
Yeah.
So suddenly he started to talk him up. The good thing about Andy Halliday is Andy Halliday backed it up with performances that, you know, the fans were not fooled. They were looking and saying, well, Andy Halliday's worthy of his place in this side.
Yeah.
So is Jason Holt. Let them go and do it. If they're winning games, he's not going to be missed. You know, and it's not a you know, a clamour from this programme or anyone else just to have it in for Joey Barton.
Yeah.
Joey Barton sadly has been his own worst enemy.
Yeah, we're trying to give a decision or an opinion, Peter, on something we don't know what caused it, and how bad it was that you get into trouble with it. But we are now looking at it. But the build up to when it happened, he wasn't playing good enough.
Yeah.
For someone who was coming in, I don't know whether he was getting 18 grand a week or 20 grand a week, so he was getting paid a lot of money from Rangers, and then he's turned up and he's not produced what he produced last season. So all of a sudden the fans are thinking, let him go because he's not a miss. And Halliday coming in now and playing better in the middle of the park, the Rangers fans are thinking, oh well, here's one of our own supporters playing in the park. We're happy with him.
Yeah.
And the whole thing can change. But again, the only ones that will win here is the lawyers.
Yeah.
Because the lawyers will be sitting down and they'll decide who's right and who's wrong.
What's happened to the boy from St Johnson, Peter? Is he not getting it?
Michael O'Halloran.
O'Halloran, yeah.
Well, the manager lives or dies by his team selection, and quite simply, Mark Warburton is beyond reproach at the moment because he's managed to get the win last night, a difficult place at the Tulloch Stadium. Rangers have got the win. Kenny Miller's delivered the goods for them. So, you know, his team selections have been vindicated, so he's not getting that criticism, and rightly so. The problem that I think this whole mess started was quite simply, you cannot have a player, and he's very much at the forefront of social media. I think he's got something like over 2 million followers, Joey Barton. You cannot go on radio stations, which he has, and said he was going to be, you know, he expected to be the best player in the division. You can't go on and say that Scott Brown's not in your league, and then suddenly when you go into one of the biggest games of the season, you know, you're not even contending in the middle of the park. I mean, you're not contesting who is the best player, because he was nowhere to be seen in the Old Firm game. And I think the evidence was damning for the Rangers fans. Their eyes didn't deceive them. You can talk the talk, but you have to walk the walk, Murdo.
Yeah, especially in the big game, like the biggest game he's played in up to now, in the Old Firm game, he wasn't there. Everyone waited to see how he was going to go on with Scott Brown. Scott Brown just ran the show the whole time, and I think he had 1 or 2 nice touches throughout the game, and that was all. And that's all he had, nice touches. See, when you're talking the way he was talking, you've got to dominate that game, you've got to score the winner, you've got to do this, you've got to win challenges.
They weren't surprised.
Did nothing.
They couldn't have been surprised, because everybody knew what Joey was like. Social media, he'd done it in Newcastle, he'd done it when he was doing it at Barnes, he'd done it everywhere, Burnley, everybody.
But he was doing all that down south, flying, so everybody, they accepted it, but you know from a distance. But see, once you come up to Scotland, everything all changes. And he's came to a massive big club in Scottish football and started shouting his mouth off about how good he was, and talking about the opposition player. You can talk about yourself all day long and just say, I'm going to do this. But when you start having a go at the opposition player that you're going to be playing against, and then 4 weeks later, Scott Brown had him in his pocket for the 90 minutes.
Of course he did,
okay, it's something that will unfold. I think the biggest insight we'll get is to how the final decision is made, whether it's Rangers washing their hands of it, Rangers paying Joey Barton in the cut-off of the contract, if indeed that's the way it all pans out. I just cannot see in the last part of this whole affair, I cannot see all of us looking at Joey Barton returning now. No. It's just a case of we're waiting to find out what the technicalities are on the separation, Ruffy.
Yeah, I think the Rangers directors have already come to that decision, and they're the ones that who know exactly, as Murdo was touching on it, we don't know what he's on. You know, they'll exactly know what he's on. They'll exactly know what is in that deal. They'll know all the clauses as players nowadays have in their contract, and they'll be looking at it, and they'll be trying to get, obviously, to pay out as less as possible. But and then the other side, as you've said, will be trying to get as much as possible. So there has to be a figure in between. And at the end of the day, it's going to cost Rangers. I can't see Rangers getting away scot-free here. I don't see him walking away without some money going out of Rangers Football Club.
If they could have got the sack, and I think that's what they were looking for, a sackable offence, and I don't think that's there. So I think they've got to pay. The quicker they do it, the better for everyone.
They see they've got to pay, Frank.
Every week we're talking about.
But they've got to pay. It'll not be 250 grand.
No,
it'll be well over a million. Well over a million.
I've met Joey, I don't know his lawyers, but if they're like him, he'll be wanting everything.
Aye. Do you know what I mean? Aye.
Well, I think that in itself is a big problem, because I don't think Rangers can afford to pay someone that sort of payoff in a season like this, when in January, let's be honest about it, Ruffy, you know, there was a lot of what I would call frenzied suggestions that Rangers were going to challenge for the title. I think most of them were ill-informed. I think sensible Rangers fans are looking and saying, you're coming back up, it's a work in progress. The directors are looking and saying, here is the money, here is the budget, let's just steady yourself in the league and then build, start to get a bit of money behind the club and start to buy sensible players that can do the job for you. And I think that has been the approach. I do not think, though, in January, when they were maybe looking to get third, second place, they'll be looking to try and buy players. You can't give away £1 million, £2 million to a player to say goodbye. His contribution zero.
And that'll be the disappointing thing for the directors who are there just now, because they have done their utmost not to go down that road. You know, they've tried to act responsibly in everything they've done. They haven't splashed the cash. They've just went for players and put them on good wages. And as you've said there, you know, that they must have sat round the board meeting and said, right, that is the first phase. The next phase is we start trying to buy players of a significant money. And if you're shelling out £1 million, £1.5 million, that might just be one of the players you've identified that you need. And so that they have to maybe take a step back and readdress everything that they've decided they were going to do, and maybe if it is £1 million, £1.5 million, they have to shelf it.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, coming up in the next part of the programme, we'll go back over all the full-time scores across all 4 divisions in Scotland and reflect on some of the star performances in the winning teams, and we'll also look ahead to the week where Celtic take on Borussia Mönchengladbach. There's the small matter of the Premier League in England. We'll discuss some of the key results there, including Manchester City, who are involved in Celtic's Champions League group. And spare a thought, lads, for Charlton and Coventry. Their game was delayed today due to the fact that both sets of fans were throwing plastic pigs onto the pitch in protest at each of the club's respective owners. Charlton, I wasn't aware that the problems were significant and causing great concern. I was aware of the problems at Coventry, where that club just seems to have, disappeared without trace. Manager after manager, they don't even own their own stadium now. I think it's a rugby league club that has the rights to it now.
Yeah, I was down at that stadium a couple of years ago. It's a lovely stadium, good corporate facilities as well. But you're right, it's something one of these ones, nobody knows who's pulling the strings, and when you've got that kind of scenario, as a manager, you've got to be very anxious if you're going to take that job, because they don't seem to last very long.
Yeah, the thing with Charlton, there's thousands staying away, not putting the money into the club, because they feel that the owners are not doing anything to take the club forward. pigs. And that's what that's been down for a while, Peter.
And what a great idea for someone who thought to himself, I'll sell the plastic pigs. That's been a real winner for the guy outside. They're the last of the pigs, and you get a chance to buy them and throw them on the pitch. What a unique situation. I wonder if you can remember the last big game that involved a pig actually going onto the park. I'm going to tell you about that after the break. At Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and Facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. Can you remember that big game where the fans were unhappy with a certain player for signing for the great rivals? The answer's coming up.
Was it the centre half for Glasgow City?
Nope.
No, it was the big boy. The boy went for Real Madrid to pass. What do you call him? One of the great players.
Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. Just before the break, we posed a question. Can you remember the match and the occasion when fans threw a pig's head onto the pitch? And this was in disgust at a key player that had signed for their great rivals, having starred for their particular team. Murdo, it was one of those great little questions at the end of the break there. You had a blank look in your face for a long time, but in the end
After
Louis Figo.
After I told you, you got it.
Frank was a genius there. He knows an awful bit
He's a good
pigs and all that kind of things. What's happened to them and all these kind of things. So.
Piggy banks.
Okay.
It was a good get. It was a
good shout.
It was a good shout.
Good shout.
It was actually on during the week, and they were talking about it, and the atmosphere apparently was so hostile. It was incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Listen, there's lots of things that are.
Tell us about them.
the reason why I'm the reason why I'm usually just everything goes, but I get. Basically, lots of information comes in, and I try and collate it while you two or three are always, babbling on there. And I just wonder, and I'm just going to throw this at you, just as a suggestion, that maybe, just maybe, that Joey Barton, this is another twist in this one, right? Maybe Joey Barton could kick his heels at Rangers until January, until somebody buys him off Rangers. So they don't need to pay him off.
But they have to give him whatever he's on for the next 3 months.
£18,000,
which would be a large sum of money.
Nobody's going to buy him.
Wait a minute, Maka.
Somebody will take him.
You cannot suggest that for a minute. Somebody will take him on the basis that he was the player of the year last year for Burnley in the Championship.
Peter, someone could wait till January and they wouldn't pay a lot of money. They'd maybe just take him off the hands of Rangers. Just take him off the wage bill. And but no one would go out and pay even £500,000.
Pay money for him.
I think Rangers would be possibly happy with that.
No, I think is there a possibility? Can you consider a possibility? Hold on a minute. Consider the possibility, and we've got to source out everything. Consider the possibility that if he sticks in there and he stays, and Rangers sit it out with him, and they maybe have to take some kind of financial hit for a short period of time. Is it feasible that someone comes in and says, "Okay, it's not working out there. Joey's kicking his heels." Is it feasible that they say, "We'll give you a fee for Joey Barton to take him off your hands in January," on the basis that they're forgetting, 8 games he's played, but we still look back at what he achieved with Burnley, a championship side. They've got a lot of money, Ruffy. Can't rule it out.
I don't think if Rangers decide when January comes, if he is still there, that if he was available, a championship club would take him. But it's a better deal. It's a better deal if they're paying him wages, and we don't know how much these wages are. For 3 months, let's say 200,000.
He's still going to want something off him. Well, he's still going to want money off Rangers.
Well, he's getting paid. He's getting paid every week.
So he's giving them.
Does he want to end his career not kicking a ball, or does he want to go and finish it somewhere where he's appreciated? Is there a possibility, and I don't think you can rule it out, Frank, that Rangers have to bite the bullet short term until they may well be able to sell him in the January transfer window? And they cut their losses. They get money.
I understand what you're saying. I don't think there'll be, like Murdo, I don't think there'll be a fee. I think they'll say, look, let's just go, give us your player, we'll take him on a fee, we'll take him off your hands, we'll give him a signing on fee, and we'll take him off you. And I think Rangers will be happy with that.
Murdo.
Joey Barton, he could sit till January, take his wages.
Yes.
An English club could approach Rangers and ask about taking Joey Barton. I don't think they would offer any money. Ask to take Joey Barton, and then Joey Barton might think, well, I'm due another £1 million here. So do I want to just leave? Unless English club would say he's on £20,000 just now, the English club could offer, give him 25 grand, give him more money, and just take him down the road.
But with all due respect, you're saying it's £1 million. With all due respect, and just in a final twist on this, Ruffy, that's a drop in the ocean to people in the Championship who might look at January and think this guy could help us in that 6-month period to maybe the playoffs or whatever. And certainly, if it was somebody in the Premiership, I would say it would be the bottom end, a team that are struggling, and think we'll take the hit on what they would view as a troubled player. You know,
I think Rangers would be very fortunate if they got that kind of deal. And I think Rangers would bite their hand off if that's the way it's going to pan out.
David Moyes would take him at Sunderland.
Listen, what I'm saying to you, clubs take a chance and they'll pay money to take the chance because it's a drop in the ocean for a 34,
financially, Peter,
for a 34-year-old player who can still play, by the way.
Financially, Sunderland would be because it will definitely be up for a fight.
So we're in agreement that possibly that could be another scenario.
That could be a scenario.
Okay.
Anyway, West Ham just went 1-0 up, so there you go. That's a good way to finish.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good way for Frank to finish. You've still got another 9 minutes. So the goal scorer there for West Ham is Manzini. So it's Crystal Palace 0, West Ham 1 in that match. Let me tell you about the games so far over the course of this Saturday afternoon. We're going to go back over the scores now in the Premiership. Of course, I mentioned him earlier. Kenny Miller scoring a cracking goal and well worth celebrating his 100th for Rangers. Inverness, Scally Thistle 0, Rangers 1, and that was the Friday night game. Also Aberdeen 4, Ross County 0 from today, Celtic 2, Motherwell 0, Hearts 2, Dundee 0, Partick Thistle 2, Hamilton Accies 2, and St Johnstone 0, Kilmarnock 1. That is the full-time scores from the Premiership. There's the table for you. Celtic out in front, Aberdeen tucked in 4 points behind them on second place with Celtic with a game in hand. Hearts 2 points ahead of Rangers with 17 points, and at the bottom end, after that defeat by Hearts today, Dundee find themselves bottom of the table. Partick Thistle move off it with that 2-2 draw with Hamilton Accies. Into the Championship, 10 men, Hibernian held to a 0-0 draw at Wraith Rovers, but the scoreline of the day, Queen of the South 0, Morton 5. Elsewhere, Dumbarton 0, Ayr 3, Falkirk 2, Dunfermline 1, and St Mirren 0, Dundee United 2. That's how the Championship table looks. Hibernian ahead on goal difference. They could have had more points, and I think with Bartley sent off for Hibernian, maybe Neil Lennon will look positively at that scoreline today. Queen of the South hammered by Morton. Falkirk just ominously in there in third place, and of course Dundee United as well. Let's go into League One for the full-time scores there. Brecon 0, Alloa 1, Livingston 1, Albion Rovers 2, Queen's Park 1, East Fife 0, Stenhousemuir 0, Stranraer 5, and the latest there from Airdrieonians against Peterhead is 0-0. Into the table first of all, quickly. Alloa out in front. Jim Goodwin starting off as player manager with a win today. The top of the table, albeit with the tremendous start that Jack Ross provided for Alloa before moving to St Mirren. Livingston, that was a surprise result today. Albion Rovers with the win. Moves them closer to the full-timers of Livingston, and Peterhead couldn't quite get off the bottom of the table. Let's now look at League 2 and the full-time scores there. Arbroath 2, Forfar 0, Cowdenbeath 2, Annan Athletic 2, Edinburgh City 0, Clyde 1, Montrose 0, Elgin City 5, and Stirling 0, Berwick Rangers 0. That's League 2 for you, and I would imagine we're not too far away from looking at the table. Forfar out in front, still with a 3-point advantage over Elgin. Had a good win today, and Clyde climbing the table as well with that 1-0 victory. At the bottom, we are longing for the day. I'm almost certain we'll have the champagne uncorked in the studio when Edinburgh City get their first win in the professional game. It's coming. I just sense that it's going to happen for us. As far as the Premier League in England today, it was a big win for Chelsea against Leicester in the early kick-off. It also finished at the Emirates. Arsenal 3, Swansea 2. Not a good day for Mike Phelan as Hull manager. They were hammered by Bournemouth 6-1. Manchester City 1, Everton 1, Stoke City 2, Sunderland 0. West Brom 1, Tottenham 1, and Manzini, as you heard only moments ago, has given West Ham the lead at Crystal Palace. The other two games tomorrow, Middlesbrough against Watford, Southampton against Burnley, gives you a chance to hang about with your family and not worry about what's on in the telly. And then Liverpool against Manchester United on the Monday night is come in from work, have a lovely dinner, sit down, and then just hopefully you're able to lock the door in your man cave. If you have a man cave or a woman cave, let's be completely PC in the 21st century. If you are a big football fan, you sit in and you enjoy Manchester United against Liverpool, Murdo.
Be very special. A great game, and I think it'll be I think Liverpool now, if they can go and get all 3 points, I think that will be letting people know that they're going to be a challenge to a lot of the sides, the top sides in the Premiership.
Yep, absolutely. And this week was a strange week. So many people just trying to pick their best player ever in a combined Manchester United Liverpool side. So many people that you could think of. But of course, it's Kenny Dalglish and 10 others. Who cares? You know, I mean, it's just as simple as that. Look at Murdo smiling. He's got 3 European Cups, the best player ever.
Yeah.
Calm your jets, Murdo.
As soon as was the bad Hansen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hansen just wasn't good at Thistle, because somebody said to me, why was he not as good at Thistle? And I said, because Ruffy was behind him.
What a way to finish with one of the top. Listen, on a Saturday he will never be given the middle seat again. Don't forget, join us next week because Champions League special on Wednesday night. Murdo will be with us. Some of the programme will be in German. The kind of thing Murdo does. He can just translate everything for us. Join us for that. On Monday night, hopefully we'll have Sam Nicholson of Hearts, although he's picked up an injury. I'm keeping my fingers crossed he's going to be with us on the show. But from Macca and fine form, Ruffy, Murdo and myself, Peter Martin, thanks for watching. We'll join you on Monday at 7. Good night.